Nip the shoots of arbitrary power in the bud is the only maxim which can ever preserve the liberties of any people. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is about media freedom in Sri Lanka. There are discussions about the act to provide for the establishment of the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission to regulate the broadcasting services and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto being discussed nowadays in the public domain. To discuss all this and more, we've invited four guests to our studios this evening as well. Joining us this evening on the show are President's Counsel, Attorney at Law, Mr. U.R. De Silva, Attorney at Law, Harshrana Naikara, also member of the Executive Council of the National People's Power, Attorney at Law Suren Fernando, as well as Attorney at Law Shehara Herath. So let's start off tonight's show with Attorney at Law and President's Counsel, Mr. U.R. De Silva, on his thoughts on the subject at hand today. Your time starts now.
Shamir, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I must thank the Face of the Nation, because last time I came for the Anti-Terrorism Act bill. For that, we discussed and said that you must go to a drawing board and then come back. So it has been done by the minister. He said, because of this discussion, I thought we would give opportunity to people to give their suggestions, and it has been given. And
let's hope and pray, Mr. De Silva, this time around as well, the minister would say this and withdraw this completely for the betterment of the country.
It's a different matter than
right.
with your program. I don't know how it happened there, but what happened there.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. But let's, tonight's subject, media freedom in limbo.
That's what I'm telling you. Now, this bill also, this is important to discuss, because this is not a bill like Anti-Terrorism Act, because this is only a draft paper, we call it white paper, and it has been given to the media firstly and media institutions. Now it is not available in the outside to get information, but it has been given to the media people to come out with their suggestion. For that purpose also, there must be some guidelines, or there must be some paper to discuss with. So that is why I say this should be done. It should be, the regulatory body should be there, because we know that media is most important area, and we say fourth pillar. It should be there. But now we have to have some sort of regulation to say that this is what you should do. Otherwise, now merely because you are allowing them to do whatever they want, it is not proper, because it is not going to give people the things that are in the Constitution. So according to the 14/14, it is there that the media freedom and expression of people are given the opportunity to express their views. So for that purpose, it is important to note that clause 15 also there. Subject to clause 15 only you can use your freedom. So that purpose, this particular regulatory bill is very important, and there are some areas we have grey areas. We have to discuss these things and then come to a better bill, and thereafter it will go to the Supreme Court for the constitutional things. For that purpose, I must say that now when we see as a criminal lawyer, I must say that most of the media people, they put the confession before their papers or the military media. So that is prohibited. We say that it should not be done, but yet they are doing it. So how are we going to control that? How are we going to say that it is not proper? So now if you take a person into custody, you can't put his photograph there. And then when a person is dead, or the lady is being harassed, or she was murdered, so we are going to put everything in the media to see that. So those are the things that we should concentrate and say that it should not be done. We discuss among the media people, but unfortunately they say that we have been asked to do that by the media authorities or the hierarchy of the media. So that is why we say we should have some sort of a body to regulate, not to control. The very word I am using, you can't control them. It is not done. It should not be done. Controlling is the different matter, but regularizing it and asking them to do a proper job is the most important thing. And for that purpose, there is a commission. It has been stated, the commission, how they are being appointed is an issue that we have to discuss. 5 people are going to be appointed. And then thereafter, another important thing in this particular bill or the draft paper, it is the investigating unit. So there's section 19, committee to conduct investigation. So that is also very important to see whether now we can't allow the police to do the investigation. For that purpose, they themselves has decided to give it to a committee, or that it is being called as a committee to conduct investigation. But the committee to conduct investigation, conducting investigation is different matter. But if they are going to impose fines and then cancel the license, they themselves, if they are going to do it, I think it is not proper. So we have to have that bill, and then we must improve that. Unnecessary areas should be thrown out, and then thereafter we will have a good bill for the Parliament to produce.
So you are saying unnecessary areas should be thrown out. That means the entire bill has to be thrown out.
No, this is not unnecessary, because when you go through this bill, you can see everything is there in a commission. What is there in the commission, it's there. But the giving powers, more powers to the board and the commission is not proper. So it should be recommended and put it to the court and to decide what step they should be done.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel, Mr. U.R. De Silva. Very quickly, Mr. De Silva, in your opening round itself, you spoke about censorship of individuals who have been harassed or who have been raped or of that sort should not be shown in media, and you correctly pointed that out. Can you tell me in which section of the bill that says?
That is what I am telling you. Those are the areas we should concentrate.
It's
but which
in
is
the bill.
Well,
The bill, it's not there in the bill.
that's right.
That's
so
right.
we should come out with those things.
This is not the bill that you.
This is not the bill, is different man. You are going to ask them to throw a bill. No, that is not the correct way. Shamil, you must understand. We
No, I'm
must
understanding,
need
but
this type of bill.
Mr. De Silva, because you said
Yeah.
that reference to this bill.
Yes.
So you say
there are areas, grey areas. I use that word.
grey areas.
Right.
Majority content of the bill is not valid.
Not all. There are various areas.
We'll come back to that, Mr. De Silva. Today we have a good discussion. So we are planning to have a good discussion. So I've noted some points that you mentioned in your opening remarks. I'll come back to you momentarily when the show goes on. I now move my attention towards Attorney at Law Harshan Anaikara, member of the Executive Council of the NPP as well.
Hi, thank you for having me. So basically, I would say he mentioned the word fourth pillar. Independent media, free media is essential for democracy to function. The first 3 pillars being executive, legislature, and the judiciary. These are the 4th state, so to speak. And no country, democracy, rule of law will ever be there if people don't have enough independent, factual information to make decisions and choices. The country cannot go forward. That's why we consider it the 4th pillar of democracy. But there's a difference in this pillar compared to the other 3. That is, independent media, their business. They do make profit. And there's nothing wrong with it. So therefore, there must be some form of regulation, some form of control is wrong word. I would say some form of regulation. Now regulation has to be on 2 fronts. One is the allocating of the frequency is now done by the TRC, which is public property. I will come to it later why it's so important. And the other one is granting of the license. Now there's no law for granting of license for radio and broadcasting services here. They have amended the Rupawahini Corporation Act and the Radio Ceylon Act by giving a complete discretion to the minister to issue in consultation with the corporation. No standard procedure. So basically there are about 71 or 80 licenses which are in operation right now, and the conditions are different to each other. Some, I mean, I have not gone through all the 80 of them, but some of them have about 5 pages of conditions attached. Some of them about 2 or 3 pages or half a page. So we know there's no consistency, no transparency, no accountability in granting of this license process. So that side has to be regulated, yes. Now content regulation, also essential, but not by the government. It has to be done by a code of conduct and a standard practice envisaged by the media community. The biggest problem we have with this act, this I will tell, the biggest problem we have, while monitoring is required, you know that in this country we have a political culture where television stations have been attacked, independent journalists have been killed or maimed, right? Executive for years and years have been trying to stifle and restrict the media freedom to speak what they want. Now with this act, they're actually planting a chip, a legal chip inside the free media so they could control within. Appointment is the best way. All these two are anyway appointed by the office. The other three are from the Constitutional Council recommendation, but still appointed by the president. And the best part is, president can remove them anytime he wish under what misbehavior or some other ground. Now, at least for the Public Utilities Commission, when it comes to Janaka Ratnayaka's matter, with all the hullabaloo, at least there was a safeguard that you need the parliament simple majority to remove that person.
Absolutely.
But in this one, nothing of that sort, president can straight away remove. So we have an all-powerful commission who's allowed to control content and everything, but where's the independence? They will all serve the need of the president or the government of the day. So this is the biggest problem. And also the annual licensing system. Every year you have to take a license. This is written here, right? We'll talk about it. So just imagine you spend millions and millions. At the end of the next year, if you're not granted the license, what's going to happen to the TV station? And even the existing ones.
What about the employees' future?
Employees' future, right? All will go. And then secondly, other important thing is, even this channel, after this comes into operation, within 3 months or 6 months, have to apply for license. So now, with very opaque guidelines on how to issue license or conditions, because none of them has been drafted. Just imagine the discretion is the minister. So if there's a particular TV channel who's not so pleasant to the president and the government, will your one be extended? Will you be given the license? So what we have is a system here where this law can easily be used by the government of the day to stifle media freedom, right? I only said a few places to show that this is an effort, not the honorable intention of, yes, we need to regulate content, yes, we need to do what is right. Then in this law, there must be sections on what is the open procedure of allocating frequencies. Now, some of these TV stations have not even started, but they have the license, right? I have the statistics here that print media board have given me. They're not even functioning. About, I'll tell you how many are not functioning after obtaining licenses. About 35. Out of about 81, 35 licenses are not even functioning. And they keep it and sell it to other people. But this is public property. The spectrum is public property. And it's finite. It's finite. So there should be laws in what we draft. If you're not using it during a particular time, you give it back to the government. There's so much you can do, so much you need to do. But their focus has been on something completely different. And I will tell you one last thing and I'll finish. Just one last thing I want to say. And also their objectives. Right? This is where the deadly thing comes in. In draft paper section 5K, ensure to carry out the broadcasting services without any detriment to national security, national economy, and public order. Now, no definition, 5K, no definition of what these things are. And who interprets these things? The commission does, appointed by the government. So now just imagine, economy. Now we know the country is going through economic hullabaloo at the moment. So if you bring some intellectuals who could say, oh, this economy might crash by this time or that time or this time, some academic thing, your license could be cancelled. So this is deadly. This is a deadly bill. And I will finish off by saying, he said, no, there are some parts, this paper is useful. For me, as the paper it is, the only thing it is useful as toilet paper and nothing else.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Harsha Nanakar, member of the Executive Council of the NPP. I now move my attention towards Attorney at Law Suren Fernando.
Thanks for having me on the show. So, as the speakers before me said, certainly we have limited frequencies, so there is a need for regulation. Also, there is some very limited, I would say, need for content regulation. But I think the draft in its present form, as Harshana said, it's not for that purpose. It's clearly for a different purpose, and it's very unsafe, whatever government might be there at a given time, to have a body with these types of powers. Harshana touched on the independence of the commission. 2 of them are ex officio, the other 3, yes, they are appointed by the president with the approval of the Constitutional Council. But thereafter, if he wants, he can just remove them by merely informing the Constitutional Council. He doesn't even need their concurrence to remove them. So the independence of the commission is gone from that point itself. It's not an independent commission. Then, if you take the powers of this commission and the objectives, one objective is to ensure that broadcasting services shall provide people true and accurate information. Who defines what is true and accurate? There can be different views on what is true, the state of the economy, what measures need to be taken for something. So this is a point at which the regulator can be used to prevent certain broadcasts on the basis that it is not true. It's very dangerous to try and moderate content to that extent. Or if you go on further, issue guidelines in respect of broadcasting to enhance spiritual development and mental health while safeguarding social and cultural values. Now, I mean, is this some sort of Taliban state sort of thing where the government is going to tell us these are the social and cultural values that society must have? If you are going away from that, we are going to shut you down. Otherwise, I mean, many situations like that, and this body which is supposed to look at complaints, they can look at any matter which might create conflict among races and religions. Now, this is not something the type of hate speech which incites violence or anything, but if you can create even a conflict, not obviously an armed conflict, but any type of conflict or disagreement, then that also this body is able to basically regulate you. Now, the problem is when giving the license or when looking at whether you have violated these regulations, the criteria by which regulations can be prescribed, either rules by this body or regulations by the minister, that criteria is not set out in the Act. So it's very open-ended as to how they can regulate. So now the conditions of a license or on what basis it can be cancelled, all is left to the regulation making power and not prescribed here. We can't even see the contours of what it's supposed to be. And that is extremely dangerous. And if that is not bad enough, it also says at the end, somewhere at the end, that the minister can give general or specific directions to the commission. So it could be directions as to cancelling licenses, directions as to what type of regulations they should make.
So you mean to say, Suren, if the minister doesn't like someone's face, let's take me for an example, not that all the ministers like me, fortunately or unfortunately, they can close it down because it's solely on the discretion of the minister in
charge.
Now,
of course, if that happened, you could seek judicial review and say that that's an arbitrary exercise of power. But the point I was trying to make was, now even if regulations are made which are unreasonable, or if the regulations which are made are applied in an unreasonable way, you can seek judicial review, you can go to the Court of Appeal, you can go to the Supreme Court. But when you are drafting a law, you must try and, you mustn't say, oh, if someone does something unreasonable, you can go to court. You must try and nip it in the bud, like that opening quotation you started with. The law itself must try and give the criteria by which these functionaries are to act.
Thank you very much.
That is completely absent in this bill.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Suren Fernando. I now move my attention towards Attorney at Law Shehara Herat.
All right. So I think Sri Lanka, if you take the recent examples of media freedom in Sri Lanka where it was misused, we had television organizations promoting a COVID portion instead of vaccines. We had media organizations vilifying a doctor in Kurunagala, falsely accusing him of sterilizing women. We had television programs in broad daylight where actors, actresses made sexual references, objectifying women, objectifying men on broad daylight, where children watch TV, and this was played and there was nothing done about it. We had television programs which violated pluralism, which which promoted hate towards certain religions, and ethnic minorities in Sri Lanka. We had television programs which were vindictive. We had television programs which made personal attacks on politicians. We had television programs which violated people's privacy. And I think all of us here in this table principally agree on this bill, but have problems with the technicalities of this bill. You know, simple things like, you know, how the appointments are made, or whether you give a license for 1 year or 5 years, or, you know, it's always about all the arguments which were made in this table against this bill were based on technicalities. And secondly, what I want to state is that, you know, this is simply a repetition of the existing law. The current bill which is at hand is not something new, because if you look at the Constitution of Sri Lanka, Article 14 guarantees the freedom of expression, and that is reiterated in this bill. It says one of the objectives is to protect freedom of expression, which was given by Article 14, which is already there in the Constitution. And then it also says that, you know, the Regulatory Commission can take steps wherever there is a threat to national security, national economy, or public order, which is also there in the Constitution. Article 15. There's nothing new. There is, you know, if the bar is here where, you know, freedom of expression is curtailed, the bar has not moved an inch. It's still there. It's just that all this time, media organizations were given a free card to do whatever they like, to accuse whoever they want, to violate anyone's privacy, to vilify and objectify anyone they like, and they were not, you know, they were not scrutinized by any organization or the government. It was always the private individual who had their, you know, they could go to courts and say that, okay, they were defamed and, you know, file a civil action. That was the only remedy available. And now we are bringing in a mechanism, or there is a proposed mechanism, which I don't think anyone can disagree, that we need some sort of regulation to Sri Lankan media. Because this is not something new. Sri Lanka is one of the very few countries who doesn't have regulatory authorities when it comes to media. I'll tell you for an example, United States, which has ranked 23rd when it comes to the Media Freedom Index, they have their Federal Communications Commission. They, you know, they decide on whether the license are renewed, whether to whom the license should be given to, and they also do regulations on content. They tell, you know, this particular program violates ethics. This particular program is obscene and cannot be, you know, aired on television. For an example, there is a comedian I like in the United States called George Carlin. I personally like his skits. You know, his a lot of his programs were banned by the Federal Communications Commission from airing on television. And then, you know, when they were banned, they went to courts. And they challenged it, saying that the Federal Communications Commission cannot ban these skits. And then the court said, no, it's a legitimate exercise of their rights. Your freedom of expression, which is guaranteed by the First Amendment of the US Constitution, is not violated by them. So I think, you know, we should look at this bill in a broad sense, and we should look at it in a good thing, because, you know, most countries where freedom of media index rankings are really good have media regulatory authorities. They have media regulation, they have content regulation, which is not there in Sri Lanka. Giving a free pass to all media institutions to, you know, attack and say whatever they like on public airwaves is not something I think we could agree on. And just to add to that, the Federal Communications Commission of the United States has also 5 members appointed by the US government, US president. 5 members appointed by the US president, similar to what we have. So if you have if you have contentions about how these people are appointed, or, you know, how whether the license should be 2 years or 5 years, we could debate on that. But I think in principle, we could all agree that this is a good bill.
Thank you very much.
We should go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Attorney-at-Law Shehar Hera. I have a lot of questions, Shah, and if I may, can I start Can I start today?
You already started, Shamik, so I'm going to say no. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to, I'm anyway going to start, whether you like it or not. So
about democracy.
Attorney at law, Sharon Benedict. Attorney at law, Sharon Benedict is onto my immediate left. I just want to, because Shahara spoke for the bill, I have a few questions for you, Shahara.
Of course.
Let's take a look at the Federal Communication Commission bill per se. Let's look at Fox News for an example. Fox News, you have had a lot of very controversial anchors presenting on Fox News, and those are highly opinionated in terms of opinions, in terms of how they have expressed their concerns and all that and more. Has that stopped over the years?
That has not. But if Fox News advertise that they have a COVID portion instead of the vaccine, I think Fox News's license will be cancelled.
So, what I'm trying to figure out is, Shahara, you speak about the bill, but are you happy with this bill? Have you read through the bill?
Of course,
Right.
I've read through it. That's what I
Right.
said. You know,
Yeah.
if
so
the
this
bar,
bill, so this bill is okay.
I mean, on principle, it's all right. Although we could debate.
What is all right? What is all right about the bill? Tell me.
I mean, we should have, for an example, if
Now
you look at the
they're saying,
objective.
now they're saying 1 year.
Okay.
The annual license for broadcasting services in a transparent manner, impartial manner, and it has to be for 1 year. It has to be reviewed every 1 year. Okay, so that's okay.
No.
I mean, we could debate.
I'll come to you, Mr. Disser. Don't
mean-
worry.
I mean-
I'll come to you.
You are
I mean-
picking out
no,
small,
no,
small
No,
things and
let
then
me
asking.
reply.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so the period of which a license is granted can be changed. I mean, that's what I said, it's a technicality. Okay, you can't give a indefinite license for an institution forever. Okay, you should have some period. I mean, 1 year could be short. You could extend it to 5 years. I mean, it's open
5
for
years.
debate.
So you say a company. Do you know how difficult it is to invest on a broadcasting station? Do you know in terms of monetary value? Are you aware of it?
Of course. See,
No, tell me. I'm just asking you. Are you aware of it? How much?
I
in
don't
terms
know.
of US dollars, let's say.
In terms of currency.
No. The problem is, Shahara, sometimes lawyers think they know how to handle business. That is not the case. I'll tell you why. You say this has to be extended to 5 years. Do you know return on investment on a capital expenditure when you're running a business is how much? You tell me. What is the return on investment on a capital expenditure of a business entity? I'm running a business, I know it. I'm asking you.
No, I think you should tell that. because
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
at
run a
least
business.
15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years with this amount of interest payment at 28% right now at government banks. You know how much? It's more than 35 years. So if you're trying to cancel someone's license in 5 years, is that fair? You tell me. Is that fair by the investor? Who is going to invest in Sri Lanka? Who will come? You tell me.
No amount of money invested in any business is worth
This
if
is-
that organization violates media ethics like they
It-
did for the Kurunagala doctor, or if they go on, creating racial disharmony in the
I am
country.
not talking about content. I am not talking about content. I'm talking about this bill in question. I'm not talking about content because that is not in this bill.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the
But tell me,
objectives,
tell me
the
operative-
objectives of
yeah.
the bill
Tell me
clearly
the
says-
preambles which says about the content.
I mean, I'll just draw your attention to the objectives of the bill.
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I'm asking you very simple. You're a lawyer, no, Shahara?
Of course.
Right. So I'm asking you a simple question. Now I asked you the first question was about what was the return on investment of a capital expenditure expected at 28% interest rates right now in the country. You didn't know the answer for that. I'm asking you what are the preambles in the bill in question that speaks about content regulation.
So this, I mean, look at the.
Tell me. I'm
so,
asking.
yeah, so we the objectives
Take the bill.
of this
Right.
commission-
Okay. Right. Tell me what's the preamble that you're referring to.
The objectives, if you look
I'm
at
not
part
talking about
one.
the objectives. I'm talking about the preambles in the bill. Why are you not talking about the preambles of the bill? Tell me, is this section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4? Tell me. I want to bring it to the attention of the
I'm pointing your
public.
attention to the part 1 of the bill. where
Part
you
1 of
talk-
the bill which says,
And then just
part
look
1
at
of the bill which says what? Yeah.
and the objectives, which I just have a summary of the bill.
Section 5.
Section 5. Okay. And then if you look at the objectives, I think it you know, it clearly
You know there is a
lays
bill.
out,
There is a bill.
it
right.
lays out
That I'm
the
asking you
duties
yeah,
of the commission.
the due. Right. Okay. Right. You are
And the
saying about
objectives of
right
the
objectives
commission.
of the bill. But right. Tell me which says about the content aspect of it. I'll give you another chance. Okay. Tell me.
I mean, it talks about formulating codes of conduct for media organizations.
Okay. Define that. Where is the definition?
I mean, see,
No, we can't do that.
No, Mr. De Silva, I'll come to you. Mr.
Yeah,
De Silva.
you can't.
Mr.
You are not
Mr. Silva.
you are
Mr.
not
De Silva.
doing it proper
No,
way.
I will come to you.
He has pointed out very correctly
Right.
what steps you should
Right.
do.
I'll come
But
to you.
Here, if
I'll
you
come to you.
want,
So wait.
I have the bill.
Right, I'll come to you. Mr. De
Section
Silva.
6 is very
Mr. De
clear.
Silva, I
What
will
are the
come-
objectives?
Right, Mr. De Silva,
So
I
you
will-
go through
right,
it.
I will come
And
to you.
you said 15 years, I am in agreement with you
Yes.
because you are investing lot of money.
Yes.
And you have done that.
Right, Mr. De Silva, I will come back to you. I'll give you an opportunity.
Allow him to come
no,
out
right,
with
right,
the
right.
story
So,
without
Mr. De Silva,
humiliating.
No, not
Don't do
humiliate.
that.
No, not humiliate. I'm asking him a very
No, it's
simple
not
question.
correct. It's
No,
not
I'm
correct.
asking a very simple question. In this bill,
As a senior lawyer
Yeah.
and a president counsel, I can't wait when you are humiliating that
No,
young
no,
boy
no, he
because he
must
has
be
come
young.
out with proper sense
No,
and
no,
he has
Mr. De
given
Silva,
the
I
correct
am
way.
not- no, I'm
That
not-
is we
no,
must
no.
appreciate.
I am asking him a very simple
No,
question.
no, that
Tell
is not
me,
a simple.
what
Only
is the-
one question. You are arguing it. He is giving the answer.
But-
You are not satisfied.
No, but Mr. De Silva, you have let me ask him the
No,
question.
no, you are
just
not
ask
doing
him.
that.
So you are saying 15 years, you are in agreement
That's
to that.
what I'm telling you. So then we
then
will
he-
go in that
Yeah,
debate.
so
And
we'll talk about it.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
come back
we
to
will
Mr.
do
De
that.
Silva. Don't worry.
No, no.
I'll come back.
But,
I'll come to you, Mr.
you
De
must
Silva.
do it in a
No,
proper
no,
way,
Mr. De Silva,
Samir.
don't worry. No,
No,
I will come back to you.
we are doing it in
No, Mr.
in
Silva,
good sense.
no, Mr.
so
Silva,
we'll
we've
do that.
always,
Thank you,
always,
thank you.
yeah,
Right, you
we'll come
continue.
back. We'll come back to
Okay.
you. Don't worry, Mr. De Silva. This is a constructive dialogue. This is the white paper, Mr. De Silva.
That's not. I am asking
So that's
also.
this is a white paper. So
Don't
we're
take it
supposed to discuss.
seriously
Yeah.
so much.
No,
you
are
are being
taking it
given
seriously.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks
No.
to come out
Right.
with your
We-
suggestion. One of
But
your
we-
suggestions is very fruitful,
Yeah.
and I must tell it should be considered immediately.
Very good, Mr. De Silva. I'm glad that we are in agreement.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
of
right, okay. Right. So coming back to Shahara. Yes, Shahara, you were saying about the objectives of the bill. You were saying about ensure what's
Formulate
the
codes of
formulate?
conduct.
I mean,
By well.
see, if you look at the objectives, they are very straightforward. And then it lays out the main duties of the commission, which is, you know, I mean, I don't want to repeat all the objectives, okay? But it talks about ensuring freedom of expression granted by Article 14, formulating codes of conduct to be followed by broadcast. And remember, now, all of you all are of the, I mean, some of, there were some expressions made that, you know, this commission can just go haywire and, you know, just, you know, start cancelling off people's licenses and, you know, start investigating on things. Again, you know, every decision made by this commission is judicially reviewable. It's not something, you know, just like any other organization in Sri Lanka.
Right. So I come to you now. Now, Shehara says it could go to judiciary, and then you, in your opening remarks, said that should not be the objective of a particular bill in question. The objective should be properly articulated. It has to be in a framework. It has to be articulated in a way in which that judicial review is not necessary when action or decisions are being taken. What are your views on that?
Now, let me start before I answer your question.
Right.
Shehara said that it seems like all of us are in agreement that
Please
we need
answer
this
for
type
me
of
as well,
bill.
because I'm not.
I'm certainly not in agreement with this type of a bill. I'm in agreement that we might need some law, and we should move away from the status quo, which is that, for example, your license is probably under the Sri Lanka Upayana Corporation Act, and we might need a separate framework, but certainly this is not the way to go. Now, yes, when you have a law, the law itself must have very clear guidelines as to what the content of a regulation can be. Now, this bill says the objectives shall be to ensure that broadcasting services provide true and accurate information. Who decides that? How you come about that? Nothing in that. Social and cultural values, not defined in this bill. Codes of conduct, very broad. And then you can have regulations based on these very broad objectives of the commission, and then tell someone, hey, you haven't followed, you're in violation of this, so we are going to have investigation and we cancel your license. Now, maybe in the US, a commission which is appointed by the executive works. In Sri Lanka, experience is different. That's why from the 17th Amendment, 19th Amendment, Now 21st Amendment, you have this Constitutional Council mechanism. Because our experience is that these executive, purely executive appointed bodies don't seem to function for some reason or other in this country. Maybe they work elsewhere. But in Sri Lanka, it appears that they don't. Now let me
They
just...
actually do work. It's just the fact that the executive keeps on meddling and with provisions.
when I say work, I mean work in a proper, democratic
Even
and
our election
efficient way.
commission is independent?
Not in a
Exactly.
politically expedient manner. When I say
But no
work,
election.
that's what I mean. But so let me just move away a little. Now we have the ICCPR Act. It was intended to give effect to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the provisions which had not been enacted up to now. Now there is a provision which mirrors the ICCPR's provision on what is in common parlance called hate speech. So it says if you propagate war or have certain types of speech which are intended to incite violence or discrimination, then it's an offense. Now Shehara correctly pointed out that there were so many instances of people inciting discrimination and violence. What action did we take? But perhaps someone might say that there are instances where there was no incitement of violence, where the executive decided to take action. Now, in that reality which we are living in, do we want to have these vague provisions in a bill which says, oh, you have to provide true and accurate information? It must be in accordance with social and cultural values. If it is something which might create any conflict among races or religions, then your license can be cancelled. Now the our courts, as well as courts all over the world, I'll start with the UK. Lord Justice Sedley, in one of his cases, Redmond Bay, said that free speech includes not only the inoffensive, but the irritating, the contentious, the eccentric, the heretical, the unwelcome and provocative, provided that it does not tend to provoke violence. Freedom only to speak inoffensively is not worth having. That's what he said there. Then even our own courts, far back as Joseph Pereira versus the Attorney General, truth can be sifted out from falsehood only if the government is vigorously and constantly cross-examined. Authority is to be controlled by public opinion, not public opinion by authority. So when you say free speech, maybe there is some degree of, what is truth? What is truth? So what is truth may not be to me. There is some opinion also involved there, and you can't regulate that to that extent.
So I want to come to...
But one more thing. But if this bill had said that if you broadcast material which tends to create hate among, or racial and religious hatred, or propagates war, or incites violence against racial or religious communities, then you can cancel your violence, yes. Cancel your license, yes. But you can't keep it open-ended like this,
broad like this,
and leave it to somebody to make regulations and minister to make directions.
Mr. Silva, you're the very learned President's Counsel in this panel today. So I want to pick your brain on this. Do you remember the 16th of November 2018? Do you recollect that? That year, was it a significant year for Sri Lanka, 2018?
For me, every day.
Every day is a significant day, no? But for Sri
There's
Lanka,
been the incident, of course.
I'll tell you the incident, Mrs. Sir. On the 16th of November 2018 was the day that Chile was thrown at inside Parliament.
Yes.
Now you remember?
Yes, why not?
The ruling SLPP
But 18th
members.
of November, if you say, I took quotes on the 18th of November 1983. So
it's very significant for you. No problem. But I'm recollecting about the Sri Lankan parliamentarians' conduct, Chile matter, Chile. So when you say throwing Chile, everyone remember, right? So November 16, 2018. So I'll just correct it a little bit more. The 52-day government, which was in power at that time, was the era of the 52-day government.
Correct.
So now we're talking about a code of ethics for broadcast journalists. Isn't it prudent right now, given the fact that Sri Lanka has had a history of violence inside Parliament, to have a code of conduct for parliamentarians in Sri Lanka? Because I don't know whether you remember, right after this incident took place, Karu Jayasuriya said it's important to have this, a particular bill in question. But none of the parliamentarians did so. Was there any private member's bill to put? Nothing.
Still no.
So, still no, because most of the MPs who were there at that time are the MPs who are now in power as well. So,
So
So
who is
what is
responsible for
important?
that? Who is responsible for that? Because now having
when you say
seen
we,
that,
lawyers,
no, not lawyer. We as the people who are
As
giving
the
votes.
people. Okay.
So we
Not
are
the lawyers, no?
No, lawyers are better than that. So not the parliamentarians, right? So they were doing it, and then they go to elections and they get elected. So who is responsible then?
Now,
And that is why I say
now, Mr. De Silva,
I
now,
am totally in agreement
yeah,
with you.
Mr. De Silva, public property was damaged.
That's
right?
Yeah.
You saw Dilum Mamunagama going and pulling a mic of the
Yes,
speaker,
yes.
right? His hand was also injured. Evidence was there, right? Evidence was clearly there. But what happened? Did the Attorney General Department took a step for because public property was damaged? Did they take action?
Not reported.
No, tell me, Mr. De Silva.
That I am in agreement.
Yes.
But what shall we do? What steps we should take?
That is what the role of the media, that is what the role of individuals like
So
you.
then
Today we have invited on the
that
show.
does not mean you
What
are.
is the priority
you are
right
not
now?
You are being
What is the
prohibited.
no, what is the priority right now in Sri Lanka?
That's what I am telling you. You have every right. That is why I said you are the fourth pillar, and you are.
But they are
being-
not considering us as the fourth pillar.
No,
now.
That's
We are the fourth pillar, that's all right.
And
But we
people
are not
are,
being considered
people
as the
are
fourth pillar.
considering that you all are the fourth pillar, but at the same time, people should be educated in a proper way. It should be given the proper news. And now, when they put forward something, if they are criticizing, yet they can criticize. I am in agreement with that. But unfortunately, with material, if they just say something and then on the next day they forget it, then you can't say it is freedom. No, you can't.
But then, Mr. De Silva, I mean, if you are speaking on those terms, I think you'd remember just a few weeks or a few months ago, the Ministry of Justice himself came out and said that there is this person who is in the UK who has got some 400 to 500 million
Yes,
US dollars.
yes.
So that
So,
statement was made without any material.
No, we can't say that matter,
What was the
because
material that
now
was
he has
there?
given the opportunity to investigate. So that is what he said.
So
He
when-
said, I personally know it. No, he said, he didn't say that. He said, I am giving this notice for the police to investigate the matter.
So
what is-
on the other side, now you're saying that when you're making a statement, it must be with facts and figures, with materials.
Yeah.
So if I think Shehar also touched on this, and he said that personal attacks were being made against politicians and whatnot. But so even if some person, let's say another politician, comes on a media station and makes a statement like that, couldn't that be seen in the same light? No, it's different.
Only thing is, Charlotte, we have to find out case by case. You can't come, as they said, no, it has been not defined.
exactly.
So you can't define also.
I think,
How
Mr.
can you say this is what is correct and this is
Understood.
not correct?
Mr. De Silva, I think inherently the problem that people and even media organizations, I think, in Sri Lanka has with this sort of regulation is the distrust in the regulating body. I think it was discussed before as well that commissions, or these independent commissions, or so-called independent
So-called,
commissions,
that's right.
because I don't know about other people, but from a reasonable person's perspective, they don't quite look independent right about now. So when this white paper was being prepared, was it just the Cabinet Subcommittee, or as an advisor to the
Subcommittee, yeah.
Ministry of Justice, were you involved, Mr. De Silva?
No.
This is
appointed by
out
the
of the
cabinet,
Cabinet
and
Subcommittee.
to go into the matter. So the Minister of Justice was appointed as a chairman, and this is coming under separate ministry. So they got together and they prepared it, and then thereafter it was not put into the Parliament. It was given to the media people to come out with their suggestions, as Shamil said.
which is what we're doing
this
now.
is what is important, and today you are being given 3 weeks' time to come out with these suggestions.
So,
and then I
yeah,
think
Mr. Guru, Mr. De Silva, let's put it this way, will you? Now there are 10 people in a house. Let's say there are 10 people in a house. 2 people, as Shehara says, are not in line. They have to be corrected. What must you do in a situation? Now take this for your household. Let's take for your household. There are 10 people in your house. There are 2 people who are a little bit crooked, who are not doing their job properly. What must you do in a situation like that?
First of all, you have been given the opportunity to get together, correct your among yourself, it was not done.
No, those two, all 10 people are independent individuals. Let's put it that way.
They should get together and see.
No, they won't get together. They
then
won't.
What step next?
So
then
what
this
is-
regulatory body
No,
should come in.
no.
Then
You know what action should be
Otherwise,
taken?
you can't. This example is not correct, because if they are
See,
if
Rama.
a house in my house, nobody is
My
there.
house,
with
my
a-
house.
I don't know whether individuals are there with
No, because
not in
Mr. Singh,
agreement
this
with
person-
you.
no,
I don't think it's correct.
No, Mr. Siva, in a society, let's take a society, let's make it a little bit broad.
Yes.
In a society, there are 10 individuals
Right.
who have independent opinions.
That's right.
Who are independent in nature. However, there are 2 people who are not in line.
Not in line in the sense-
They are a little bit crooked. You know, there is always a bad apple
The
here and
extreme.
there. No?
Bad eggs, right.
Bad eggs, bad apples, or whatever it is in that 10 apples,
Right.
right, that you have. So what do? Do you remove those 2 apples or try to poison all the 10 apples?
No, you must remove those 2 apples.
How do you remove those
That
2
is
apples?
what it should be done in this way.
Yeah,
Now, how can you do it? Now, my learned friend stated that if it is this way, in this way, it is proper. I am also say like that, because we should put the correct words and correct way of collecting those 2 people. Now, otherwise, merely because it should put in, and if you go through it, it's not correct. I must say, but regulatory body should be there.
Now, Mr.
So,
Silva, example,
now,
there was
we
time-
can't say
there
it's
was
a
times-
waste paper
No,
or
Mr.
toilet paper.
Mr.
It's
Silva,
very
there-
bad.
Mr.
The word my girlfriend had used is not correct. It is that NCCP word, I suppose. But this is not a toilet paper. This is, we are
I just said the
giving-
content.
The content is also, we have to go. Now, 5 members. Now, what is the wrong with that? 2 members are.
No, I'm not talking.
What is your grievance?
No, I'll come that to you in a minute. I'll
Right,
come that to
okay.
you in a minute.
And Shabir, if I may, just one
With
question.
Harshana,
Yes,
can I
yes,
ask
definitely,
Harshana's
definitely,
thoughts as well,
definitely.
Harshana?
Thank you.
Now,
Toilet paper.
I'll take it back if it's too harsh. I just call it waste paper.
no.
No, once
no,
you,
you're-
once you
you're
use
entitled
this,
to
you
that.
will lose your right to
That's
take
the end
a-
of the matter. It's a waste
I
paper.
still stand by.
No, on a serious note, now what I don't understand is, Harshana, right? We had Minister Bandula Gunawardena on the 19th of March 2012 saying that a household can live with 2,500 rupees. Okay. Several days later, the same minister goes on to say this has to be increased to around 7,500 rupees, because if you take into account the electricity bills and all that, then the person can't live. He is saying if a person is who is supposed to live with dire straits, he would need 2,500 rupees, and he was not referring to a family, he was referring to an individual. So now this minister in charge is in this committee in question as well. How serious are these people, Harshana?
Well, there.
Who are we talking about bills? Who are we talking about putting contents down into a piece of paper to govern media in this country? They should be governed first, isn't it?
I fully agree with you. It is just that the general public has a higher regard for the media men than the politicians. So I don't think equating the two of you will be very fair by you lot, because people really have a different word about the politicians. What they say on stage, I mean, lying through their teeth, misrepresenting, not even an apology. So therefore, see, at the end of the day, I was telling before I came in here, a knife of butter is a good thing if you apply butter with it. But if you use the same knife to stab someone, then that is bad. So what has happened is this: whether the knife is good or not depends on whose hands it's in and their intention. And we know how the executives in this country has treated independent and free media, how they try to terrorize working video stations and people like. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is, this government is not serious at all about. Now, I am of the view, a couple of things I'll agree on. Firstly, do we need a law? Yes. Do we need regulation and monitoring? Yes. Do we need content regulation? Yes, in a different way. What I'm trying to say is, it should not be state run. It should not be state. Basically, if the content needs to be regulated, so be it, because what you pointed out, some certain media outlets, how they created situations, need to be controlled, but not by the state. It has to be done by the media community coming together, right? We should have there are 3 types of regulations. One is state regulation, which we are against. Self-regulation sometimes doesn't really work, because among the media outlets, the competition sometimes tend for them to stretch their boundaries a little bit. But however, in Indonesia, for an example, their system, it's a co-regulation system where government sets a framework, a commission. The framework is there, but all the appointments are not done by the state. It's done by the media community. So the code of conduct and everything that get fixed in a co-regulation system is that partly the state who's put the structure in, but the media community decides who will be appointed to places and what their code of conduct should be, or the content conduct or content whatever. But it has to be decided by the media, not the TV corporation bosses, neither the state, right? So in that way, we will have a far more healthier or beneficial thing to the community. But state regulation, I mean, then that way you destroy the independence completely. I would suggest what they should do, there are some guidelines which I have to read incomplete. The European Council of Ministers in 2000 gave some guidelines how to draft independent media commissions or bodies, right? In that they give a huge list, a proper list where how you can keep independent media free also, right? Following those guidelines. But this paper is different. Their intention is the same as the anti-terrorism bill, right? If you look at the anti-terrorism bill, I'm not going to talk about it too much now, but we have already said that bill was designed to make trade unions terrorists, make freedom of speech an offense under terrorism law. And just imagine, anti-terrorism law plus this law coming together, right? I mean, your place will be closed down. Biggest problem for me, as Suren rightly pointed out, there must be openness and transparency. There must be regulations here. Now, normally regulations are drafted after the bill is being drafted. But in this instance, I believe regulations should be drafted first, because the devil is in the details. What if they draft a set of regulations in such a way, a particular TV station will never be able to get a license who's existing? We don't want to extend. And since in another topic we spoke about the length and the cost involved, I am of the view a longer period must be given after consultation with the media community and the companies, but there must be open set of conditions on which granting is license, and it should not be subject to minister's discretion.
Right.
If these boxes are ticked, you get it. And the cancellation, same. This is the criteria we're going to cancel it. And if the boxes are ticked, come and explain yourself. What we lack in this law, thank you, sir. What we lack in this law is the consistency, openness, and the transparency. But
Right.
as far as this bill is concerned, the only good thing about it is the fact that it has told that we need a law. But there's nothing.
Yeah. So Shehara, I don't know whether you recollect, media organizations have been burnt in this country. Journalists have been killed in this country. Senior journalists have been killed in this country. There is no justice to all that has happened. Why this now? Why this piece of paper now? You're talking about the last 4 to 5 years very eloquently. You say about things that have gone wrong. I probably will, I'm in agreement with you on these incidents, and I'm not denying that such incidents have taken place, but let's revisit the past. Let's not forget the fact that there are companies that have been burnt who are still trying to find out the money that the investment had costed them, because at that time they were not insured under terrorism. What do you have to say about a situation like that? Now, Lasantha Wickrematunge's murder in 2009, just before the war, who is responsible? Respective governments have come into power saying justice will be done, justice will be meted out. In 2015, the Yahapalani government came into power saying that that was in their election manifesto. They said that they will make sure that justice will be meted out. Nothing has been done, and now this piece of paper. Look at what has happened in Sri Lanka. There is a presidential advice on climate change. Are you aware, Shah?
Of course.
Yeah. So, is that the need of the hour?
Okay, first of all, journalists being killed, of course, it's a serious issue. But I also want to point out that, we have had a slight improvement from last year. Last year, Sri Lanka was ranked 146th in the Media Freedom Index out of 180 countries. We were leading when we take the South Asian region. And this year it was, we were able to reach 235, because this year we have not had incidents of, violence against media institutions. But, our topic today is
This
about
is
the
the only-
media,
yeah, this is
media
the-
regulatory bill.
No, no, no. We're
And
talking about media
giving
in limbo.
justice to
No, we're talking
people,
about media,
you know,
media
people who.
expressions in limbo. I hope you were told.
No. I mean, let me finish my statement.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. People being attacked, people being, killed, media institutions being burned down, they are criminal offences. And that's a separate topic. This is not something which we should
No,
address
what is
on
the
this
what is the what is the
broadcast
need of the
irregular-
what is the need of the hour?
I mean, need of the hour, I think we are improving on our media index gradually. This year we didn't see any media institution being burned down. I think, proper rule of law, if it is in place, I mean, not only media institutions,
Shahar, I
even
think
business
no.
entities need protection.
No, Shahar, the thing is, don't think that the improvement in media index is because there were no media institution that was burnt in the country. If you think that's the reason, that's not the reason.
No, I mean, they look at
That's
a
not the reason.
different, I mean,
There
they
are
look at a
different
wide
indexes.
spectrum of things, and then we have showed improvement.
But a bill like this is going to drag us down. Now,
No, there have been bills like this, like I told you before. The Federal Communications Commission is in place in the United States, and the United States is ranked number 23rd on the Media Freedom Index. And like I said, they have 5 members appointed by the president. And then once again, Senior Counsel Harsha Nanakar and then also Senior Counsel Suren spoke about how broad these statements are. No matter how broad all these words are about, national security, codes of conduct, steps to prevent abuse of power, all of them, no matter how broad they are, I just want to point out that you cannot go beyond that bar which is already the existing law, which is the Article 14 of the Constitution. That's not
Shehar,
violated even an inch.
Shehar,
I
quite
just want to
interestingly-
repeat myself, even an inch. And then addressing what Learned Counsel Harsha Nanakar said, what if they just come up with regulations banning or preventing a particular media organization from getting a license? It's judicially reviewable. I mean, any governmental decision is judicially reviewable. Like I said, again, this bill doesn't go against Article 14.
why is it
and
so? Why is it different from any other laws in the country? Now, let's say there's some problem, you can always go to courts.
Yeah,
can't
of course. It's like every other law in the country.
No, but Shehar, now you said that the bar hasn't been pushed at
Of
all.
course.
You were referring to Article 14, and then on national security, you said Article 15. But Shehar, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Where you said it has not gone past the Article 15, procedure and limitations. Now, Article 15 entitles, on national security, there are provisions made by the Public Securities Ordinance that allow the president to do various things, make various regulations. But this commission that is by and far answerable to mostly the president, at least, based on the powers of him appointing 2 ex officio members, appointing the other 3 with the consultation of the Constitutional Council, and also having the power to remove them. Would you agree with me if you say that the president would have most control over this commission? Would you agree with that?
I mean, the president appoints Supreme Court judges in the country also.
Yeah, but
with
then the president
approval
can't
of
remove them.
Yeah,
can't
of
remove
course.
them.
Removal is the problem.
No,
Yeah.
removal is a problem.
Yeah,
Yes,
then
removal.
again, you all are talking about
Yes, no.
technicalities.
Okay, no, this is okay. so I'm
Serious
just-
technicalities, though.
I'm just going about
Yeah.
this. So when you say that it hasn't pushed the bar that's set in Article 15 of the Constitution, Article 15 of the Constitution has serious procedures that involves Parliament, the judiciary, the executive, and all of that. The Commission here, under national security grounds or national economic grounds, can request information from any media organization. And a lot of these media organizations have information about whistleblowers, people who feed information that could relate to government corruption, if you will, at the highest stage. So when people don't feel free to give information to a media organization, because of course there is a commission that's mostly by and large answerable to the president, how do you really ensure media freedom there?
I mean, see, again,
And how do you say that the bar hasn't been pushed?
again, the bar hasn't been pushed because if you look at, the current constitution has been in place for many decades, and we have, we have hundreds of cases explaining what is meant by national security, what is meant by national economy, what are the parameters of Article 14, what are the parameters of Article 15. So I don't think we need to go back into redefining for the purposes of this act what is meant by Article 14 and what is meant by national security, what is meant by national economy. And
No,
what is
all
meant
I'm
by
saying that the
public
procedures
order.
are kind of bypassed with this. I think, sorry.
And currently, I mean, for any inquiry currently in the law in Sri Lanka, for any inquiry relating to terrorism, relating to a crime, any person can be questioned under the current law. So, I mean, this is just
Any person, I didn't get you.
any person can be questioned when it comes to any criminal investigation.
So now, you spoke about several incidents in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So was the media institutions also questioned on those?
I mean, if there is a
Selective.
no, if there is a crime,
Who's
I
selective?
mean,
Who's being selective?
if there is a crime which has taken place.
Now, because you said, Shahar, you earlier said in your opening remarks, there have been incidents.
Of course.
Like example, the doctor in Kurunagala, for an
Yeah.
example, right? Then you said, what happened there? What did the media do there? So was media institutions questioned?
Because there
these
was
laws?
no procedure for that. There was no crime there. The only available
why are you
remedy
then
for
why are
that.
you talking about it?
No, because if this law was in place at that time, that doctor could have made a could have made a complaint to this
He has filed
broadcasting
under the-
regulatory commission to make an investigation about the truthfulness of the statements issued by the Divina paper, or whatever. I'm sorry, the paper, and I hope I got the paper correct. Whatever that
But you never said
institution
that.
is.
You never said that, yeah.
And then
Take
have
action
an
against-
investigation.
I think.
And since this commission was not there at that time, he
Shahar,
had
I'm
no
going to ask the
remedy.
same question that I asked Mr. De Silva. Now, there are
course.
10 independent individuals in society. 2 people are crooked. What do you do?
This question.
I mean, it's a very broad-ended question.
What is it called? It's a broad-ended question. Same thing. If you look at this this bill,
You can't-
most of them are not defined properly. If you read the anti-terrorism bill, which even Mr. De Silva on this very show said that amendments are required, and in your opening remarks, Mr. De Silva, you said after that show, Minister Vijayadas Rajapaksa had told you that he will take some time to review.
Yeah.
So, which is good news, which is very welcoming, you know.
Today is also same. So we have made our opinion or expression,
Yeah.
and you also come out with lot of important areas.
Thank you very much,
But
Mrs.
unfortunately, you are criticizing it very haphazardly. You are doing it. But my opinion would be
But
that
Shabi
it
didn't
should
call
be
it
done
toilet
and
paper.
it should be considered.
Right. No.
And just 1 minute, just to reply, I mean, you said that, these are not defined, but if you take laws in general, there is no country in the world where every word has been defined.
That's
We have
correct.
laws in the
Yeah.
United Kingdom where most of the words are not defined. We have laws in the United States where words are not defined. In Sri Lanka, we have laws passed which are not defined. We have words in the constitution which are not defined, and it's open for the judiciary to define it.
Yeah.
You
So
can't,
that's why we go to
say
the
that
Supreme
this
Court.
should be thrown in the bill should be thrown in the dustbin.
No, I'm
because
not
there
saying
are
that,
no, there are no
Not dustbin.
definitions.
Not dustbin. I
It's
said
up
it's
to-
good enough to be toilet
It's
paper.
up to the courts to define, and then we are open for consultation. All this time we had this procedure where governments just pass the bills without any consultation. Now we have given a chance for media institutions to give their feedback, and you all can say, okay, this needs to be defined and this needs to be defined. And of course, I am a lawyer. I don't know how much investment it goes to open a media institution because I have no interest in opening up a media institution.
there's
So of
no
course, that's why
problem.
we have given you all time
De Silva.
for you all to tell us how much it takes
Shahara.
to open up a media
No,
institution,
Shahara,
and for us to
No,
go ahead with this
Shahara,
law.
The thing is, I always, in this very show, I always say, there are subject experts in a particular matter in question. Like, now if you look at the customs, for an example, now, there are individuals in the customs department who don't know what a foreign direct investment is all about, right? What happens then? When you go to the customs department, they will say, no, you can't do it. Then there is enough and more red tape. And what happens? That FDI won't ultimately come to the country, right? I face these problems, right? You go to the customs department, people will ask for a bribe from you to do something, right? That's why I always say, when you are criticizing a bill or when you're criticizing something of this sort, which has come as a white paper, you have to have that subject knowledge which is required. That is why we are talking to 4 lawyers today. We could have spoken to 4 doctors if not. We are talking to 4 lawyers today because we want to get an opinion. Right. So, yes,
Now,
Suren.
Shehara was speaking about not being able to define everything always in an act. But the problem here is this is an act which is trying to regulate the media, broadcasters. So, in effect, there is a regulation of the freedom of speech and expression of the broadcasters. Indirectly, that will also affect the right to receive information of the viewers and their freedom of thought. Now, in chapter 3 of our constitution, we have the fundamental rights. Then, article 15 specifies how you can restrict. There are very limited instances where those fundamental rights can be restricted, and the restriction has to be by law. Now, law is defined in the constitution as meaning an act of parliament, but for the purposes of that chapter, you can also include emergency regulations under the Public Security Ordinance. Now, we had a situation in 1997 where also the government of the day brought a Sri Lanka Broadcasting Authority bill that went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said it's so bad that not the provisions, the whole bill has to be passed by 2/3 and a referendum if it's to be passed. I will read just 2 portions of that bill. Clause 5 and 11 enable the minister and the authority, so he also said, to impose restrictions by executive fiat. Restrictions can, in terms of Article 4D and Article 15.2 and 15.7, only be imposed by law. So, what the Supreme Court was saying was, you can impose restrictions by the bill, by what is going to be the act. You can't leave that to be done by regulations. That is not permissible. The only regulations which can restrict rights, and that also in limited instances, is emergency regulations under the Public Security Ordinance. The court ended, now Shehara said, you have judicial review. But no, not everywhere. Judicial review is costly. What happens when your license is suspended till you go and get a stay order? Your license is suspended. What happens if your license is suspended just before an election? Then maybe
You have to figure out your cost loss
And how
by
long
an hour.
it will take
By
the
hour you will
judicial
lost
application.
No,
exactly.
I
So
don't
now the
think it's
court,
correct.
just
If you go to-
hang on.
All right.
So the
Go
court
to it.
said, the court ended with this, I like quoting this, having identified all these regulations, they said yes, it might happen, it might not happen. But this is what the court said. These things may not happen, but they might happen because they are permitted. The evils to be prevented are those that might happen. Now that is what I am also saying. There are evils which might happen. We might have brilliant regulations. We are not saying that definitely people who come here will bring something to victimize those who have a different political view. Yeah. But what if it happens? Now why do we want to say, oh then you can go to court? Why not nip it in the bud and put the criteria, be specific? Then we don't have a problem.
Shehara,
So long as you have an independent body and very limited, it can be on truth.
I'll come to you, Harsha.
Maybe hate speech inciting violence, yes, not on truth.
So technically what you're saying is that since this is a limitation of a fundamental right,
Yes.
which is the freedom to speech, it cannot be done by regulation.
It cannot be done by regulation. If this specifies, okay, hate speech which is racial or promotes racial or religious hatred and incites violence or discrimination, and there are few more nuts and bolts to be worked out by regulation, yes. But you can't keep it open-ended and then say do everything by regulation, because this says the terms and conditions of the license and the terms and conditions for renewal, all of those are by regulation. So it's very open-ended. What are these terms and conditions? They are obviously going to restrict your application. They are obviously going to restrict your renewal.
Shehara, you want to add?
I mean, already there are terms and conditions imposed when we give a license. There is no regulation in that. It's just that all these years, we have had the government, issuing licenses and issuing, terms and conditions which go along with it, which was not regulated. And now we are trying to bring it under one governmental authority, one framework where, it's proper. And then secondly,
proper subjective, based on your idea.
I mean, it's according to this act, okay?
Proper in your opinion.
And then secondly, he talked about, you have to specify it in the act. Of course, it's specified in the act. It's just that, exactly for an example, the act says, it should protect national security, national economy, public order, so on and so forth. It's specified in the act. It's just that you know, you have to, you know, the elaboration is only which is required in the.
So, but then that's contradictory. When you say specified, you don't need that much of an elaboration. Isn't that the?
So, for an example, codes of conduct. Okay, when it, I mean, it could be on obscene publications, so on and so forth. So that is what you know, the objectives are talking about. And then, secondly, I mean, there were examples brought about a license being cancelled right before election. You can do that now. Of course, you have to go to courts, and you know, it could be an illegal decision. You can cancel a license now.
The problem
It'll
is
be a
we can't
illegal
challenge the
decision.
existing law because it's law. But now we are talking about a bill. So we don't need to say the existing law is bad. Let's replicate that bad provisions in a new bill. Let's make the new bill better.
No, any governmental official can do something illegal, can do something unreasonable, can do something which goes against the constitution. Okay, what do you do then? I mean, tomorrow the government can cancel, I mean, all private institutions' licenses. Then what does government, all the private media institutions do? They have to go to courts. I mean, they can do that closer to election. They can do that closer to a important, I mean, important event of national, important national event. See, all of that can happen. Okay, it's not that, you know, this has given some additional privileges and powers. You know, what is there in the current law is, you know, it's streamlined, and a proper mechanism is brought about by this act. So I don't think, you know, we can go with that argument where, you know, you can cancel a license just before election, or government official can do something
No, but it
legal.
can be done. It can be done based on this bill as it is. It can be done. Yeah, Harshana?
Yeah, what I want to say, while all this was going on, you asked a question actually from Shehar. I think I might answer that one. They asked, why this law now? I will tell you why this law now. The same reason the ATA is coming. That is, right now, what is the government we have? A president who was not appointed by a public mandate. Secondly, a parliament where the validity, morality has expired the day Mahinda Rajapaksa ran away, right? Ranil Wickremesinghe is someone who lost the election and he got appointed president. So when you don't have the public mandate and the will, you need draconian and tough laws to control the people, because the will of the people is not there. And for him to come up with these things, that is the main reason for this. And also, I'll tell you what I think we forgot to mention this. Do you know that in section 33 of this proposed law, there's a punishment, criminal punishment for violations under this? You can be put inside prison. They have not said how many years. If you look at section 33, it says, any person who fails to comply with any direction or recommendation issued to or required imposed on such person by the Commission under section 19 of the Act. And what are the things under section 19? Right? For an example, violation of any condition specified in the license issued under this Act. Any act which has created or possibly create monopolistic or unfair competition among the broadcast license holders. So, look, I mean, I know that if somebody does something wrong, you need to punish. But right now what we have is a situation where section 33, it says, shall be guilty of an offence under this act, shall on conviction after summary trial before magistrate be liable to a fine not exceeding yada yada yada, or to imprisonment. So, which means they are even contemplating imprisonment for media personnel. Now look here, if they need to be regulated, yes, I am agreement. They need to be punished, yes, but no media enterprise, unless they break another law of the land,
Criminal law.
should be criminally punished for expressing their ideas and freedoms, unless, of course, you have done something under the ICCPR or some other law. So, I mean, just imagine the intention. This is why, Shamil, I said, when you look at it, you know the intention with it was created, to put fear, to put terror inside the minds of media people. Otherwise, you don't talk about imprisonment. So this is why we must understand this act never came in any good faith. It came for a completely different purpose.
Would you
Just like the ATA.
Would you agree with it if it was just a fine?
No, not this act. As I told you, I said the particular word for this, and I still maintain myself.
Ms. Disilo, you want to add anything to that subject? Because I have a follow-up question for you.
No, you do that.
I can ask that question right. Mr. De Silva, who appoints a secretary to the ministry? A ministry usually. Who appoints?
No, only thing is,
No,
Shamil, now you are asking unnecessary question, because now we are the people who appointed president. We appoint president. Who is appointing president?
We didn't appoint
Huh?
this
Who?
president.
No, why not? No, we in the sense, Shame.
Okay.
Khaled. Now we say, I am talking about not lawyers or individual. We say we are the people the people who are voting.
Right.
So we say
Mr. Silva,
now
Mr. Silva,
we
I'm
say
asking a very
Right.
a question. Who appoints a secretary to a respective ministry?
the president
Ah,
has the
right,
power.
okay. Who appoints a director general to the telecommunications regulatory body?
What is the fear? You are everything president. Now what I
Right, okay.
you are this is like you are asking kindergarten person, who is your father? Who is your mother? Tell me the name. This is not correct, Shamil. What I am asking is, president has the power.
Right, okay.
If
Now
that president
my
is
question-
violating
now-
it,
right.
what is the next step?
Mr. De Silva,
We are not. We should not
So
appoint
there
that
are two-
person.
there are 5 members.
Yeah,
to
that's
the-
one. That is, I am coming to that.
5
Yeah,
members.
very good question.
2 members are appointed by the president directly.
Not direct that by
Except
office.
By office, but directly. no,
It's
Mr. De Silva.
it's a fundamental thing in
Right,
this country.
okay, right,
in
fine.
every law,
Understood. Two
in
people-
every commission,
Right.
you have that type of thing.
No, no.
So, why?
Not in the independent commissions under the 21st Amendment.
That's a different matter. Independent, as Charlotte said, who is
At least there's
who is
some
defining
independence.
But
independent?
then, Mr. De Silva, don't you think
Why
this,
not for
this,
this?
all
I-
people are
I-
right.
I-
Now
I-
two people, right?
2 people
By
appointed
office,
by the-
they
right.
are being appointed.
Then 3 other members of whom shall possess a degree in law, science, business management,
That's what I am
technology,
telling you.
communication, engineering, public administration, or mass media from a recognized university, appointed by the president.
Yes.
With the approval of the Constitutional
That's
Council.
correct. No, they
So
approval.
all 5 members are appointed by the president.
No. Don't
then- then-
3 people who he is
Silva.
nominating. If the Constitution Council not satisfied with them,
Right.
then they can reject it.
Yes.
But then the president will come up with 3 other names.
Mr. Shamil, now you must understand in every commission,
So how
it is like that.
independent- So how independent is
That is why I am also not in agreement with that.
You're not in
But
agreement.
I am this particular independent commission. I am not in agreement. I have come across several things that are there in that commission. But in law, that is as my Suren said, that is the law in this country. Independent commissions are
So-
there.
so
What
basically-
is the basis of that?
no, so this is not an
President will
independent commission.
nominate.
Right, this is not an
Even
independent
the Supreme Court judges, President will nominate, and the Constitution Council will go through it. And there are people being appointed by the Parliament as well as the other educated people. So they are considering the factors, and then if they are not satisfied, they will say, no, we are not in agreement with that, we reject.
So the president will appoint 3 others.
That's right, that good people, though, if they are not satisfied, who is responsible for that? Constitution Council is responsible for that.
So now
the council is there.
Constitutional Council appointed IGP Pujit Jayasundar.
That's what I am telling
Right.
you.
So Constitutional Council was responsible.
That is why I am
After the
telling you, I am
April
not,
attack took
no,
place.
I am not in agreement with the independent commission. But anyhow, I have to adhere to the constitution of this country.
Right. But this is before this is going to be a part of the constitutional.
Yeah.
We are talking about.
That's what I am telling you.
Right.
By appointing people, you can't have people like that. Then you can't appoint people also. Who is going to appoint them? They must ask Shamil to appoint somebody. No.
I would do a better job.
And that's what I'm quite sure. I'm 100% sure that you will do it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they are not going to
I'm
ask.
not going to ask. but
So that's why I'm telling you,
but I am
that
going
is-
make
that
this
we
the
have to
forum.
agree on that,
But
man.
we have to make this the forum.
Yeah.
We have to create a dialogue, Mr. De Silva, to ensure that we have the right policies in place.
That's right.
As far as this bill is concerned. Now, we are all in agreement that this is a white paper, Mr. De
Yes,
Silva.
yes, that's right.
So we can criticize this.
Criticize in the sense in proper way. Now, the 5 people, of course,
Yeah.
if you are going to say that it is not correct, then who is going to appoint? Tell me.
Constitutional Council.
Constitution Council.
Can appoint.
All 5.
Can appoint.
Yeah, all five of them. All
They
five.
can recommend. Now,
Right.
now the other independent commissions, they recommend
I
and
will
the
say
president
that
appoints.
it can be considered, but I am of the view that
Some president suggestion, they
people who are going there
Because you,
should
you
do.
asked Mr. De Silva, you asked us, no,
Yeah.
who has to
That's why
appoint.
you
So
do-
we are saying
yes.
Constitutional Council has to appoint.
Appoint
Recommend.
5 people.
Recommend.
Right,
Recommend and
right,
president
recommend.
can appoint.
Yeah.
So no
President can
ex
recommend.
officio
Normal
members.
system is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
5 people can be recommended by nominated by the president, and then thereafter Constitution Council will say, yes, these are very good people, then we will appoint 5 people. it's the way you asking without going to only 3.
I am not
No,
asking.
no, you are suggesting.
No, now.
No. Now, in the
Suren
other
is-
independent commissions, the Constitutional Council recommends and the President appoints. The President doesn't initiate those names.
No.
So why only
This
this
is
a
the President
deviation?
is appointed.
Right,
This
right.
also half and half.
That
and half.
can be accepted. No, so in other
This will
commission-
change.
Yes, that it should be changed
Ah,
if
right,
it is
okay.
so.
And of course, the power of the president to remove.
Yeah.
And
Power
also,
of
That's
the
of
remove
course
must be
is-
taken.
that
It was
power-
taken away.
Yes,
So President can haphazardly do that.
Mr. Disha, when you you are angry, Mr. Disha.
No. I am not angry. I am very happy. No,
We can construe it as you're in agreement with this.
No,
You're not in agreement with this clause.
I am
right?
in
just now
agreement
Mr.
to some
Disula
extent.
agreed.
Yeah, that's
that
what I'm saying.
9-1 and this has to
be abolished.
Yes, yes,
All right,
I-
okay.
I-
That's
I will
point number 1. So
Right.
point number 2. That's to Shehara. Shehara, you've read very well the objectives of the bill now, right? So one of the objectives, K, says ensure to carry on the broadcasting services without any detriment to national security.
Yeah.
Agreed. National economy and public order. Public order also in agreement. What do you mean by national economy? Define that.
Like I said, I
No,
mean,
detriment. No, now you.
see, these
Shehara, you are talk-
these exact 3 words are there in the Constitution, Article 15.
Shehara, let's forget about the constitution. That is already a law, no? That is already part of the law. I'm talking about. Shehara, you've read this bill and come on, just read it through.
I mean,
that
if
AK,
this- if
is that
if
Suren,
this-
can you show that line?
No, I know the line. I have it with
okay,
me.
okay,
It's just that if this word ever comes into question, courts will follow the guidelines given by the interpretation of the Constitution.
Shehara,
And there have been constant
Shehara,
cases
Shehara,
where
2018. Now you
where
spoke
national-
about the bad of the media, right? Since 2017, right? I've been hosting Face the Nation since 2015, right? 2017, we first of all featured this individual in the name of Murtaza Jafaji. He's the Advocata Institute, now current chair. He said, things are going to be bad in the country. Action needs to be taken now. 2017, first show. Today, Advocata Institute has won an award in the US because of the fact that they predicted that there is going to be an economic crisis in the country, right? We as a media organization published that, right? What happened in 2020? We were going through a rough time. 2021, what happened? 2022, what happened? We had to declare bankruptcy in the country, right? This is the state that we're talking about now. I'm talking about what do you mean by detriment to national economy? What do you mean by that? So media can't say anything subjective about the country's economy, is it?
no, I mean,
We have to wait until everything is hunky-dory.
It's not about
don't predict the
expressing
future.
opinions on the economy. Anyone can express any opinion
Then
on
what
the
is- what does it
security.
say?
Anyone can. I mean, I can on media come and express anything about the
About
security.
national
We can-
security, you can't, you'll
Yeah.
be arrested.
No, I can say okay.
You will
We
be arrested.
we need to tighten our
Mr.
security.
Deceiver might have to appear.
No, we can
don't
express
worry about
opinions
it.
about
Now,
security.
even if without
I can-
saying
I
anything,
can-
he can be arrested because there are corrupted police officers. It's a fact. In every law, if you are going by that position, you can be arrested at any time. Shamil, you have to be very careful when you are going out also because corrupted police officers, they will arrest and say you have the.
And in the anti-terrorism bill, we gave powers to how many DIGs?
No, we say it should not be
There'll
done.
be about 12
It will
people.
not
Yeah.
be done.
Okay.
Right.
Me expressing a view, if I come here and say, okay, from tomorrow onwards, we need to remove checkpoints in Sri Lanka, I don't think I'll be arrested. If tomorrow, if I come and say, okay, from tomorrow onwards, we need to reduce the number of military personnel in Sri Lanka, I'll not be arrested. If tomorrow, if I come and say, okay, we need to move this particular camp from Trincomalee to Batiklo,
What if
I will
what
not
if
be
a-
arrested.
what
But
if
if
an
I come
expert-
and
what
if
an
I
expert
come
say-
and say
Yeah, no.
that okay,
what
there's
if an
going to be a
expert- what
bomb
if-
in this at this
No,
time
no.
and create public
What if an
chaos.
expert? No, that's national security. No,
Yeah,
that
of
can be construed that way. But what if an expert comes on the media and says, foreign direct investors should not come to the country, or the NPP had told last year, I remember, for Sri Lankan immigrant workers who are outside the nation not to bring their dollars.
Incorrect. We never said that.
No.
Let's assume.
let's assume.
They said they not to say.
Never said that. Never said that.
They
but
said,
it's okay.
they said,
Right.
don't
Assumption,
say,
yes. Assumption, yes. Assumption, yes. Of course. Of course. Example, no example.
Example. So then what happens?
Yeah, so in the same,
that
in the
is
no,
what
no,
I'm
no, no.
saying.
Let me tell
An
you,
expert
in the same
is
way,
entitled
as
to
an
give their
expert, if
opinion.
I'm a national security expert, I can say, okay, this particular camp needs to be moved from Batiklo to Arugambe. Okay, if I'm a security expert, I can express, okay, we have too many checkpoints, we need to reduce that. That is not an issue. Just like that, an economic expert can come up and say, okay, we need to reduce, for an example, investment policy rates, we need to reduce it. Or if we need to, improve on our foreign direct investments, or we need to, improve loans given by banks. That is not an issue at all. We are talking about major statements which may cause an economic collapse. For
example, Shahar, if one were to come here and say, look here, the stock market is doing really bad, it's going to crash tomorrow.
I mean, if a media organization continuously propagates, okay, the stock market is going to crash, the stock market is going to crash, and creates an artificial scenario where everyone pulls out their stocks from the market, I think that will be a...
Yeah, but President can say that he's going to close down stock market. That's okay.
Sorry?
President can say that he's going to
Close the stock market.
And Shamil, don't come
So
out
he has
with
said
those
that,
things. No, it had never happened. President had not
President-
stated in
He said
Mr. De Silva, I'm sorry, but he said it in Parliament.
stock market वहाँ ना हुआ.
If it crashes or close it down.
Parliament privilege.
Parliament.
I wish
No,
every
wait,
citizen in the
he's not
country could
serious
get that advantage of a presumption of jokes.
No.
That's right.
Shahar.
And then,
Sure,
for an
right,
example,
okay.
if a statement
Do you
is
think,
made-
Shahar, do you think, a very simple question, do you think a lawyer is a security expert in the country?
I mean, there are lawyers who are security experts.
Like, example, a lawyer who's a security expert.
Now, media personnel who has gone to the law college, and then they
I
will
mean,
be
there are army officials.
people who are there, they are experts.
An army officer could be
Done
construed.
attorneys at law. There are army officers who have done
Can you
doctorates
say
in law.
Chief Justice is a security expert?
There could be chief justices. who are
Example.
security
Now,
I mean, I can't give personal examples. I don't know what qualifications
Sarath
the
Silva.
chief justice has.
Sarath
I have
Silva
never
is-
gone through.
Sarath Silva is security expert.
No,
He's
no.
expert on many things.
I have,
When you
Sarath
say that,
Silva.
I have not gone through chief justice's CVs.
Sarath Silva.
So I don't know their
I know.
qualifications.
I'm asking
No,
him.
you
Don't
are-
worry.
you can ask
I'm
from
helping
him.
him.
I think
Sarath Silva, December 9, 2007 judgment.
Defamation case. So you
Right.
right.
Removing permanent barriers in the city of Colombo. The judgment was that. Now, is he a security expert?
No, so that's what I said. If I come and tell you, that's exactly what I said. I can come and say that security barriers
I mean,
should be removed.
Why
That
he
is
has
not
done
gonna-
that? On what basis? He is a judge. He should not be a security personnel. He will consider the evidence available before him and then give an opinion.
But they
or-
never removed it.
Huh?
In
No,
2007,
what I'm
they never
saying is,
removed
as
the
you quite correctly asked, he is not an expert, but he will be an expert after going through all the details given by lawyers and then the documents, and then he will come to a conclusion. That's how the judges do. They should go through every document given by.
In this instance, Chief Justice has not gone through the document.
I don't know. You also don't know how on what basis he has come to that
His
conclusion.
white paper. I don't think even a lawyer has gone through that. If you look at the paper.
Ms. Isma, who drafted this?
So every time you are asking Shamil, who drafted it? Still not come out with that because it's
no one is
white
there.
paper. Unknown.
No one is there.
Unknown.
Because all the committee got together and then discussed and then put it to a paper for you all to come out with good suggestion.
Committees Manusha Nanaikar, Bandru.
No. They are Manusha Nanaikar, that's correct. And headed by Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. So they have considered it. This is where we should put forward and given it to you all. This is the best way of consulting the
That is what
you all.
we're doing now.
We do that.
Yeah.
They tell us what what steps we should take into consideration? Tell us without saying 10 people are there, 10 apples are
They don't
there.
have the bill at all.
Mr. De Silva now since
That is what you are saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a bill. Yes, I also in agreement. If
Thank you
are,
very
no,
much,
no, no, wait. Don't, I have, comma is there. So if
What
you all
with the
got
bill?
together, up to this time, if you all have got together and then come out, then my learned friend had quite correctly, how you can do that in 3 ways. So first of all, the government can do that, and the second, the
Self-regulation.
Self-regulation. So self-regulations are not there. We were waiting for that. So then what's the next step? The good idea, he said, is to have
co-regulation.
This is what we are also saying, now that we have given you the opportunity
content,
to do that.
so the content of programs
That's right.
must always be decided by the common standards agreed between the media community
And you all are the
not the
people.
state.
No, because
right.
Harsha,
Not the
what
state.
what I'm trying to figure out in this bill is
This bill, you can't figure out
Request
anything.
any
Don't worry.
Yeah.
You can't figure out. You'll be a genius if you figure anything out of this.
right,
Right.
okay.
This
Request
now
any
you can do that
person
also.
or-
This is a copy.
Yeah, request any person or an entity to furnish the commission any information which are required by the commission in order to carry out its functions.
Yes. So
So someone else has to give the commission also advice.
no, the commission asks you all to give the details. So it is now in the law is there also to get out the information. So we can get the information if there is, as my learned friend quite correctly pointed out, that if there are secret documents, then you can say we can't publish this, and you will be given the opportunity to express your views. In this particular bill, it is clearly said that before the commission or the commission can appoint 3 people as the committee, and then when they are asked you to bring forward, you can go there and say if that is if you are not in agreement with that, then you can go to courts. So that is normally happen in this country.
What about criminal punishments?
That's right. The criminal punishment, on what basis they should do, is the problem. Now, in everywhere where they say if you are not adhere to the regulations of this, and you will be punished. Now, here they might come and say that you will be given the opportunity to go to courts and show your bona fides, and then the magistrate is the power to convict or not. So that those are things that they are. But what changes should be there is the issue, as my learned friend Herat said, that technicalities are there, but if you go through it properly, I don't
when
think,
you-
Shamil, you have gone through it.
I have gone through it very well,
But,
Mr.
when you look at it, I think you have
That's what
some
you think.
curious
Then I'm-
things in
no,
that.
I'm
But
curious. I'm
in
curious.
general.
I'm curious. I will tell you, Mr. Sir, why, right?
Why, right.
I'll tell you why I'm curious. Removal of members of the commission, right? Guilty of misbehavior, unable to discharge the functions of the commission, or disqualified under section 6, right? Now, if you look at it, I just want to revisit the last few weeks in Parliament, how the Public Utilities Commissioner was removed. When you look at that, it's very evident the government is trying to bring in laws in the future to not have independent commissions in place.
That may be
Because-
the case.
that may be the case.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I also feel
Yeah.
that because they have gone there and then they canvass the
I have read this bill very well, Mr.
No.
Silva.
They have
You asked
gone.
the question from the bill.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to ask anything because you are not
Yeah.
happy with it
Right,
totally.
right. Yeah.
So if you are not happy with
I
the
can answer
total
it.
bill,
Yeah.
you are asking to not to have that type of bill, then no, I think it is not proper to ask
Now, Mr.
questions.
De Silva,
But
this
anything.
bill, this bill, Mr. De Silva, I don't think has been done by the UNP. You know why? It says is not a citizen of Sri Lanka. He has to be a citizen of Sri Lanka. So when the central bank one scam took place, I don't think this has been done by the UNP. That's for sure. What do you think?
Maybe the Pahuto branch of the government did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mr. De Silva, what do you think?
We'll see. That's a normal thing that it is there in the constitution. That's why they have put. As
but-
Mr. Herat stated, they have taken
I think
some important areas
we
from the
remove the dual
constitution, which you
citizenship
can't
clause
deny
as
that.
well.
You can't say no, I am not happy because already the constitution says that. So how can you go there? Now in this terrorist law.
Dual citizen case also, there is a pending case.
Penny, the order is being postponed. So you
Why
wait
this
and
is
see.
so?
This
Yeah.
particular case where the lady
Lydia.
is being challenged, and the order Whether he should be removed or not will be done in future. Don't worry, we'll wait and see. Right. Now, as Shehara says, now in the particular bill, that Anti-Terrorist Act also, the death penalty, they have gone and argued. This Supreme Court has stated, already the law is there.
No,
That is why we can't change it.
This is the problem is when you look at this bill in question, it seems right that the government is trying to take away all the hurdles that are before them. So it's easier for them to operate.
That's
in
all.
an instance,
In a nutshell.
yeah, in an instance where there could be public disagreement, public disobedience. Like the Aragale, for an example, if you saw the president's speech that he delivered to the nation, he says, I will not allow an instance like the Aragale to happen in the country again.
Completely forgetting he became president because of that.
He became president because of that.
Now, must admit the fact
Well, you
that
think it's
what
a good
happened
thing.
thereafter, the violence, that is what he meant. You are
So that's
taking
what should have been
the
stopped
other
now.
way.
The
Now,
violence should have been
Violence
stopped
against
now.
the protesters also
Violence should have
wasn't
been stopped,
stopped.
but it was instigated by the temple trees. Everybody who speaks about violence on the 9th of May forget what happened in the morning. They remember what happened in the afternoon. I
all of
say
it
both
should
are
have
wrong.
been
how can, unright.
Both of
That's
are wrong.
correct.
Both of
Both
them
are
are
wrong.
wrong. Both
Both
are
are
wrong.
wrong. It should never happen again. That we all agree with that. No. So we can't say that president has said the wrong thing. He has said the correct thing. As the leader of the country, he should not allow the people to do that type of violence.
Should not
Yeah,
allow the
just,
violence.
just to
should allow
correct,
the
because
Aragale.
president's name was mentioned. You know, it's
Oops,
Aragale.
apologize.
Aragale is not only a simple act. It encompasses a whole lot of things. It's about the president referred to the clash which happened
That's
between the
right.
government, the economic collapse, and the attack made by the political party affiliates on the people who were revolting against the government, and the attacks vice versa. So I think he referred to the entire scenario. And
Aren't
about
you happy that it took place, Shahar, in Sri Lanka?
I
We
mean,
have a new president, at least President Ranil Wickremesinghe is
One you
now-
like anyway.
being the
It's not,
member
not
of the
good,
UNP
Shamil,
being
in
the
that way. If
president
you are coming
is
out with that words, I don't think it's correct. Because now,
This is like
no,
No, of
NPP,
course, I mean,
who contested for the three people, candidates? Who are the three candidates who?
Dala Salah Peruma, Ranil Wickremesinghe, Anu Kumar Dissanayake.
Andhra Kumar Dissanayake having contested the election, he comes and say he is not the proper person to be elected as the president.
No.
He also
I'm saying
said-
Ranil was not elected. He has no people's mandate.
Now,
What I'm saying is, I'm not criticizing Gotabaya. No, I criticize Gotabaya for something else, differently.
if
But
it
he got
is
a
wrong,
vote.
why he
This-
he contested for the post of president?
All I'm saying is, not I will buy you, sir. Don't get all confused. What I said was, Ranil was appointed by 134 people of the Pohotu as a bodyguard to safeguard themselves
No.
for a
it was
temporary
not
period.
only Pohotu. There
Who
were
else?
SJB members who voted. There
Can you
were
tell the names?
TNM members who voted.
Can you tell the names?
It was a combined effort. It was
How do you
the
know, Shahara?
SJB
How do
who
you know?
supported a Pohotu member.
How do you know?
Shahar, how do you know? No, because,
I mean,
What are the names?
because now you don't sound like a lawyer, you sound like a politician. That's why I'm asking.
I mean,
No,
I'm
when
in
you
dual
say SJB,
capacity.
no, SJB, what do you mean?
No,
Secret ballot. How would he know?
No,
Yeah.
anyhow,
It's a secret ballot.
No,
No, I don't
anyhow,
know.
we must know that it is constitutionally it is correct. They can't say,
Yeah.
as a lawyer, he
Yeah.
can't say like that.
Yeah,
It's constitutionally correct.
yeah.
That is the only way of doing
I
that.
didn't say it's constitutional. Wrong. I said no moral right.
Diana Gamage, all SJB members.
Shahar, you said dual roles. What do you mean by dual roles? You play dual roles when you say because
mean,
because
politics.
it's only right. It's only right. Like if I mentioned that Harshana is representing the NPP.
Yeah.
I know Mr. De Silva is not politically affiliated yet.
Yet.
Suren is also not politically.
He's an independent consultant for politicians. Not affiliated. Independent consultant.
Independent.
Independent. You are independent.
Ministry.
Anyway,
Right.
independent.
So I'm asking you.
No, you are not
Are
affiliated.
you politically affiliated to any party?
Of course, I'm a member of the United National Party Working Committee.
Right. Okay. Right. That's what I just want to. Clarify that because I was not aware.
Shamir, if I can just
Yeah.
pose one
Yeah.
question to Shehara. Now, Shehara, would you admit, if I say there's a little bit of a distrust? I mean, well, let's just say the government is doing good. We're definitely in a better place than we were last year. But there is a bit of a distrust between independent commission being appointed, and especially when it is the freedom of expression of the people that is being limited or that is being regulated, let's say, through this act. There is a little bit of distrust on the part of the people on what this act is intending to bring. Would you agree with that? Maybe that's not the real intention, but I'm saying on the part of the people, there is a bit of anxiety with the events that happened last year that cannot be put completely into the account of this government because they helped us get at least a little bit out of this mud. So would you agree if I say that there is a little bit of distrust among the general public with regard to these provisions that you are trying to bring?
I mean, there seems to be, some, media institutions are seeking
That's
clarity.
right.
Yes.
But I don't think the general public
General
at
public.
large are concerned regarding the provisions of this act. But I think we need to, like forums like this is what we need. I mean, that is, all this
I think
time.
they will publish it
I
like
mean,
this.
all
Do you
this
know who
time.
drafted this bill? No, you're the UAP working committee. Do you have any idea as to who drafted this bill?
No, of course not. I mean, this is what this is what we need to have whenever this is not even a bill, to start
white
with.
paper.
It's
That's
just
the white paper, yeah.
it's just a. I mean, we
discussing
don't have a
proposal.
concept of white paper in Sri Lanka. It's just a idea. Okay, it's just an idea where we seek, recommendations from media personnel. We'll seek recommendations. I mean, the government will seek recommendations from different, other parties concerned. And then go for a bill rather than the government simply turning up in parliament and saying, okay, this is the bill, they are going to vote for it.
Suren, what are your thoughts? You've been silent for some time now. I just want to get your thoughts. I spoke about the removal of officers from the commission in question. I spoke about the way in which national economy has been defined in this objective line as well. What are your thoughts on this?
So on the removal, I started by saying that that's certainly not on. It's completely different to the mechanism for the removal of members of other independent commissions. Here, now you refer to the PUCSL. There at least you need not even a simple majority, absolute majority of parliament. But here it's to remove by the president alone, not even with the concurrence of the Constitutional Council. He just informs them and does it. So I think that's completely out. I think that
Yes.
I don't think anyone here is going to debate that that's not okay. With regard to national economy, now there, the provision I spoke about that when I think spoke at the start. The objectives of the commission shall be to ensure to carry on the broadcasting services without any detriment to national security, national economy and public order. So now if someone says that we are going to have a fuel crisis, we won't have enough fuel to run industries. Someone might interpret that to say you have made a statement which is detrimental to the
Absolutely.
national economy. Now investors are not going to come,
Now
tourists
individual-
won't come. So you shouldn't have carried
The
this.
caliber of Udega Mampila, remember, came and said that there is going to be a gas crisis in the country, in the media. So if we as media organizations publish that statement,
I don't think we can have prohibitions like that in the bill. Hate speech, incitement of violence, incitement to commit an offence under the penal code. If you do that, yes, maybe some sanctions can be imposed on you. But these are all, they go back to the other thing I said, it's all about the truth of content. And people have different ideas of what truth is. You might have, someone might think the market is going to crash, the economy is going to crash. Someone might say we should default on our
And then if
for
we
foreign
air
debt
it,
servicing. Someone
we are in
might say
trouble.
don't default.
No, you don't have to worry about that because before that, notice should be given to you all and then you are being asked to come and thereafter you allow you all to make representation. Then only you the recommendation.
Yeah,
to
but,
be-
media- sir.
but why should they have that power at
Because
all?
see, a media person must have the freedom to report it at the time without having to think, what if I put this dot here? Will I be given notice?
Without
Will I be
any
able to come?
material.
You can,
No, not
you can
without
be
material.
able to ask
that's
for
what-
I mean, what I'm
defamation.
saying is,
That's right.
okay, there are two
Yes,
things.
correct.
No,
I'm
sir,
also
sir,
in
sir,
that-
Sir, two things.
Right.
One thing is freedom of speech, right? Freedom of expression, content, truthfulness. I agree with what Suren says. There are two types. Now, I'm not a media expert, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? When you are reporting news, there must be a level of professional journalism when you're reporting news. Verify when necessary, whatever. But however, other content could be, more, whatever they're doing, completely different. So I think what we should be focusing here, right, this act does not focus, is the regulatory mechanism cannot be state. It has to be out. It's what I earlier said was kind of a co-regulation system where the people do come in together. So I am of the view that if you are going to stifle, I mean, someone reporting from something, having to worry, will I be given a notice or something, then there won't be any proper media coming through.
But the best of the journalists won't be highlighted.
They won't. They won't be highlighted because journalism is also about creativity, remember?
And there won't
the
be
passion.
any scoops.
And
There won't be any scoops. Yeah.
Right? But, let me be honest about it. We, as he said, Panimutti to the lakes and the Vandadostaras, all we know. So therefore, because sometimes when TV channels compete, they tend to stretch the boundaries, which is in bad taste. So, but let the media community decide how to handle it and have a code of conduct.
I would say you might even have some
For content.
prohibitions in the
You
law
can have the
itself,
provision.
but it needs
But then,
to be specific.
Mr. Nanakara, now you said you agree with what Shehara said about these instances where hate speech was propagated. We spoke about Dr. Shafi, then we spoke about the Vandakottu.
Yeah. Whatever, undesirable news items.
Whatever, all of those. So at the time, the ICCPR Act was
there.
in place.
Was it
the
there?
PTA was in place. The provisions in the penal code
Was in place.
And none of those provisions were used to deal with that situation.
Absolutely.
So what's the, not even the guarantee, like what's the reasonable, can a person have a reasonable expectation that the provisions in this act would be used to deal with such situations, since, like Shehara said, one of the main reasons that this act is being brought is to deal with such situations.
Right. I'll answer that. Now, since you're also an attorney at law, in this country the biggest problem is selective application of the law, right? ICCPR will not be applied when that is something the government want to be told to the public. But if there's something the government does not like, they will use the ICCPR and the penal code. Law, my friend, is not a separate function. Law is an extension of politics of the day. That's how I see it. So therefore, that's why we have to keep the judiciary independent. That's why we have to keep the AG independent. Why? The executive, not just this government, any government, will try to creep into the other areas of separation of powers. So the problem what you're describing has been here for the last 75 years. Yes, it has to change, but you cannot change legal culture or legal attitudes while keeping corrupt politicians in power. First, you got to clean that place up, because law for me is an extension of politics. So therefore, you want clean law,
So
proper due process of law, rule of law, that has to be cleaned up first.
right. So Shehara, because you mentioned that you're also a member of the UNP Working Committee and you have political affiliations also, what is the priority of the president now?
I mean, again, we are deviating from the topic.
No, we are not deviating from the topic. You're wrong, because we're talking about this bill that is being brought in as a white paper. Is this the priority? That's what I'm asking you.
I mean, see, if you're the, I mean, the priority of the president is going for economic recovery, which is doing at an excellent pace actually. So I
Subjective,
think,
really? That's what you're saying.
I mean,
No,
if
sorry,
you- if
you're
you ask
entitled.
the-
You're entitled. You're
Yeah.
entitled for your own opinion.
Yeah, it's
Don't
my
worry.
opinion. I think the president is doing a
respect
really
that.
good job in getting
As
the
a
IMF.
UNP Working
benefit.
Committee member, you have to say that.
Of
Okay,
course.
right, okay, yeah. So agree, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is his priority, is to ensure that the economic recovery process is going on well. And then secondly, that doesn't mean he has to, completely forget about every other aspect of government. He has to continue. I mean, we can't engage in a lot of development work because the country is economic status. But, you have to look at all other aspects of other areas as well. I mean, we have all the ministries running. We have to look into women's affairs. We have to look into media. We have to look into defense. We have to look into all other aspects. So this is just a white paper brought in among a lot of other white
When you
papers.
say you all have to look into women's affairs, defense, what do you mean by that? Is the president or? President?
Ultimately, it's the role of the president, right? It's the government of the day.
Not a party, right?
The government of the day has to look into all
Not a
aspects.
party. Not a party, right?
Not
Not a political party, right?
I don't understand your question,
No,
because
no,
all
but-
political parties,
No, I'm asking
at the
you-
end of the day,
Yeah,
they
you-
desire to be in the government. So they need to look at, government policies. They need to come with their, opinions about different government policies. They need to come with their opinion about, maybe the government's policy on Buddhism, the government's policy on women's affairs, the government's policy on equality, things like that. So
So there is no respective ministries to handle that.
Of course there are.
So don't you think, as Harshanan says, what is important right now is to make sure to get the media involved and get them to draft something that is suitable, rather than it being politically motivated. Because
Especially the content.
You just said every party that is there wants to come into public office.
Yeah.
And then it seems like even the UNP is trying to bring in such laws to the table because they want to come into governance, and that's all. That's about it.
Isn't that what we are doing? We are
No,
getting your opinions.
We don't want parties like that coming into at the expense of media institutions. That's not right. That's not fair. That is not the code of ethics that a country should follow.
If you take that, no political party in the world can bring any law into power. Okay, so for an example, the Federal Communications Commission was brought in 1934 by the then government. I don't know whether it was a democratic government or a Republican government, whatever the party which was in power in the United States brought in that commission. Just like that, parties throughout the history of Sri Lanka has brought in certain commissions. Some have failed, some have succeeded, and that will continue to be so in the future. And currently, we have brought up a Broadcasting Regulatory Commission, which I mentioned earlier, is something which we need. It's something which a lot of countries have, and Sri Lanka doesn't. And we have brought it to discussion, not even a bill of parliament. We have brought into discussion, and now we are taking views of the media personnel, and then the government will take views of other people as well, and see how this particular bill can be improved. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you argue that we should put away looking at different things, then we can't talk about women's affairs. We can't talk about the justice ministry. Then judges should look at that. We can't talk about the environmental ministry. The environmentalists should look after that. So, I really don't see a point in your question.
No, my question is what you said. Now, you said the UNP at the end, or the political party that you're representing wants to be in power one day, right? I'm asking
Just
you.
like every other party in the world.
Right. So I'm asking you, are these bills being brought in with that agenda in mind? No.
I don't
No.
think it's correct to ask that, because it's a country. It's a country. So,
Right.
for the
that's
benefit of the
Mr. Silva,
country.
you're saying you're not a UNP working.
No. When you
Let me
ask that
ask him
question,
will-
I told you, now he is a
Silva,
young
you're
junior
not-
lawyer who is coming out with his opinion.
Silva,
Now
I
you
said
are
you're
asking that
independent.
question.
You are-
It's a
you're-
broad
yeah.
question. How can he answer that question?
He's a member of the UNP working committee.
That is why you are asking that.
Yes.
Don't do that. No,
let-
he is
that's
a
what I'm
member of
asking.
that. That is their plight to come to
Ah,
power.
plight.
But
No,
merely
no,
because of
no,
that
I
plight,
mean,
this
any
bill
party-
is not there. Any party.
Any party will take
NCCP
decisions
also, though they
which
don't
will
want to have the
benefit
power,
them, which will be detrimental for them. It's up to them.
They should be
There's
given
an
the
easier way.
opportunity.
So there's an easier way we can solve all of this. Since the economy is doing so well and things are so hunky-dory and Ranil is very popular, ask him to hold the elections. Then everything will be fine, and you can draft any law because he'll be president.
No, what
Go ahead.
elections?
What elections?
Yeah, what elections?
Whatever is due by the constitution. Start with the local government elections.
Again,
Right.
we are
Or
going
Shehara, are you of the
about
opinion
elections.
that
Right.
Haldanata Chandyak
Right.
නෑ?
Haldanata Chandyak nahi.
You spoke about the Communications Act of 1934 of the US, right?
The Federal Communications Commission.
Yeah, right. Federal Communications Act of the US 1934.
Yeah.
You know what allows the president to do that in that based on that act? What the president can do? Are you aware?
I mean, the act
No,
is quite
you say-
vast.
yeah. No, it's not vast. It's very simple. I just read it
Yeah,
through,
I
read
mean,
through,
yeah,
read through
yeah, go ahead.
in just 2 minutes. So I'm asking you, now you base your argument saying we have to have something similar to the 1934 Act in the US. Am I right?
No, that's not what I said.
Then
I
what did
said
you
every country has their own regulatory mechanism, and
Right.
Sri Lanka doesn't have one.
Right. Then you said,
And
then
we
you
also
said the
need
president-
one, and
then-
I
yeah,
think
and
this
then
is
you-
a good.
Right.
I mean,
have you read that act in question? I'm sorry to ask you this, Shahar. Have you read that act in question?
which this particular?
No, 1934 US Federal Act.
No, but
All right, then
yeah.
let's leave the case there.
Yeah.
There is no point of asking you a question. Really.
I mean, every country has their own acts.
so it
dealing
allows
with
the president.
broadcasting.
So I will just say it to your knowledge, right?
Yeah, of course.
Allows the president to suspend or amend rules and regulations upon proclamation that there exists a war or a threat of war or state of public peril or disaster, or other national emergency, or if he deems it necessary in the interest of the national security or defense. Very clearly articulated. This bill has it. Does this bill have it? Does it have it?
I mean, it talks
You have
about.
not even read the bill, no?
No, of course I've read the
But
bill.
I asked you a
It
question.
clearly says.
I told you, tell me about the 1934 Act, but you didn't say it.
No.
And now you're saying after I said something, you're saying
Listen,
that.
I just said
Yeah.
that every country in the world, I mean, most countries in the world has
You
their
said
own
the president-
regulatory mechanism.
In an earlier comment, you said the president has the power to do whatever he wishes to based on this act in question.
No,
When it
I said
comes
the
to freedom of
president
expression.
appoints 5 members.
Right. Okay. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask all four of you, all four learned gentlemen, about the way forward. Right. I want to start off with the Shehara. What is the way forward for a country like Sri Lanka? If you look at issues, if you look at the future, what do we need in the country? I'm not going to interrupt you in your last few minutes. I'm going to allow you to express your opinions independently, and I don't want any speaker rebutting the points of the individuals in question, because they won't have an opportunity to raise their concerns. So, because all four are very learned gentlemen, and Mr. Disilo, I have a lot of respect towards you. So let's start off with. I'll end
You
with
always-
you as well.
always say that.
But Mr. Disilo, don't get angry.
No, that is when we are taking something out of the context, then I also feel it should not be done.
Right.
That's
So-
all.
so-
That's
so-
all.
right.
I am very happy with you,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
I love to come.
Right, thank you very much. It's like Minister Vijayadas Rajapaksa last time on the show. He likes to come on the show, but anyway, let's
If
not
they
go
happen,
there.
no, no.
Yeah. Right. Let's listen to Shehara's thoughts. What's the way forward for Sri Lanka?
I mean, see, you're asking me this question as we recover from the worst economic crisis Sri Lanka has ever faced in its history. And I mean, in 2000, we went to a minus economic growth rate, but it's nothing compared to what we faced in 2020, 21, and 22. So, a lot of the main reason why our economy boiled down to this point, where the country was in shatters, was constant change in government policies. That we didn't have a consistent national policy, we didn't have a consistent foreign policy, which kept on changing as the governments changed. Okay, every 5 years you get one particular government coming in and implementing one set of policies, and then the next 5 years, I don't know for what reason, maybe it's ego, maybe it's different ideas of economic planning. You have the country going in different directions, and then this has cost a lot for the people of Sri Lanka. If we take last year, I mean, it cost people's lives, it cost people's future. I mean, if you ask young people, especially people of my age, I don't think anyone wants to live in Sri Lanka. They just want to migrate. And, we can ask the question, is this what we have left for the future of Sri Lanka? So I think if we want to go forward as a country, if we want to, tell our children, okay, just like you go to another country, you can also prosper in Sri Lanka, we need to make that difficult, change, and that difficult choice of, coming into that point where we implement a set of national policies which won't change from each government to government. And we should rather invest in decisions which will be beneficial in the long run and sustainable, rather than politically motivated populist choices which we have made throughout the past few decades. So unless we make that choice, I don't think Sri Lanka will have any way forward. And I think that is what all political parties must understand and come into one table and implement that. So that's, I think, is the only way out. If not, I don't see Sri Lanka going anywhere.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Shehara Herath. I now move my attention to Suren Fernando. I promised not to say anything in the last round, so I will.
But you did not promise to stop grinning. You are grinning.
Attorney at Law Suren Fernando.
So at the moment, I mean, I think there's a common realization that we have a lot of structural reforms that need to be done. whether there is the political will to do that, and whether the reforms like the one we are discussing today that are being made are being done in good faith, I think there's a big question. Now, if we look at the events of 22 in particular, I think you had this, for the first time maybe in our history, people recognizing that, power was really with them. But whether government has still realized that they need to respect that ultimately sovereignty is with the people, that there's a question mark. I think government also needs to respect that. Now, I'm not saying that therefore you just turn a blind eye to criminal acts. Certainly the law can be enforced then. But I think there must be more respect and more recognition that government needs not merely to permit people to protest and have free speech, but government needs to actively promote that. Then, despite all what we have had, in the past so many decades, but particularly in the aftermath of the Easter attacks, the ugly racism that we had, all of that, still we, as Harshana said, selective application of the law. In some of those grave situations, the law hasn't taken its course yet. Hate speech, incitement to discrimination, incitement to violence which happen, no. But for very trivial things which we might, which I would consider is not worthy of applying the law, and the law should not be applied, the government might decide to do that. So I think those lessons have not been fully, certainly have not been learned by government or politicians, but even the people, I don't know whether they have learned it. And finally, I think if we are to move forward, you need a government which has a proper legitimate mandate, not that legal technicalities are checked and okay, constitutionally you have a government in place, not that. A government which has the moral authority to govern. So we have the local authority elections which are due, which have been due, which have not been held. I think those need to be held first. Those need to be held, certainly. But since I think there is no mandate at the moment for this parliament, there is no reason why the parliament should not be dissolved, so that you can have a parliament which actually has an electoral mandate. And I think that is probably the biggest key, because you said people have, I think Charlan said, people don't have trust. Now, if you have a government, yes, they were legitimately voted to power, but has lost the public trust, the public mandate, that needs to be fixed first, because then people will, unfortunately in this country it's likely that a lot of people who should not be there will be elected again, but at least it will be a parliament which enjoys the mandate of the people.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law student Fernando. Harsha Nanakar.
Right. Although we spoke on the media bill, I'll just give the overall thing. Overall, what we feel is that we are in a massive crisis, an economic crisis, which is unprecedented. And I would say this is not just happened by accident or just overnight. It was in the making for a long time due to many other reasons. However, in order to come out of this mess, there are three pillars that we need to make strong. One is the rule of law. That means no selective application of the law. Due process and rule of law must be upheld. That is first pillar. Second pillar, zero tolerance on waste and corruption by anyone. Third pillar, racial and religious harmony. Now, without having these three pillars strong, you cannot have an economy, you cannot have anything, because everything is based on this. Economy is based on this, right? So things are hard now. People are tightening their belts. Secondly, what do we need? Okay, fine, we need a plan. I'm not going to talk about the IMF and what's going to happen to us. I'm not going to talk all that. But I'm simply trying to say, since tough measures have to be taken, it must be just like Suren said, a government mandated by the people. And the government must set an example by tightening their belts on their own. Every day they increase their perks. When their people bring gold in smuggling, they don't get just a slap on the wrist. So what we have right now, as Suren said, a government without a mandate, right, or popular support. So therefore, I firmly believe law and economics are extensions of politics of the day, right? So in order to get this up going and to strengthen those three pillars, yes, let's have the best economic plan possible. Let's put all the heads together, as he said, let's put all the heads together. But why do we don't want to join with people who are not adhering to the rule of law, who are corrupt, and who increases racial harm. Although the Pohutto fellows are now with the government, we know how all these Vandakotu things came about and how all those ministers did all this religious hatred inciting. So with people like that, this country will not go an inch forward. So my final thing is that the media plays a main role in educating a public and sensitizing a public, right? So therefore, should there be a law on media? Yes. Should there be regulation on media? Yes, but not this bill, because this is brought in for a completely different purpose. As I earlier suggested, some form of regulation where the industry is also involved, mutually agreed upon. So the country will not go for an inch forward unless elections are held in a timely fashion and people are allowed to vote whom they like. Otherwise, this country will not go an inch forward.
Right. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Harshan Nanakara. I now give the baton to President's Counsel, Attorney at Law, U.R. De Silva.
Thank you very much, Shamil. I think you all have done a great job as media, because you all have asked us to come and express the view. Merely because you criticize thing is not the proper way. As we said, there are gray areas, and as you pointed out, as media people, especially, you have the authority to do that, and you know what steps you have done. So please give us the opportunity to hand over those things to the minister, even if you are not unable to give it straight away. But anyhow, today he has given an assurance that 3 weeks will be given for you all to give the things. That does not mean that thereafter they will forget everything, but thereafter there will be discussion. This is the first time in the history, I suppose, that before the bill is presented to the parliament, they have given, having considered the media is very important as the fourth pillar, they have given you the opportunity to discuss among yourself. And my learned friend has clearly stated, this is not, the government cannot dictate terms to you all, and government should not go alone. They should ask you all to combine and then give your opinion. Then only way forward is very fruitful. And there, apart from that, every time when a bill is being presented, you say this is needed or not, this is important or not. Every bill is important for the society. Even the terrorist bill also, it is important to have that type of, but discussion should be there and then have a proper thing. But there are important areas inside that bill. Most of the people, they have not read over, and only you have asked those questions from you. But I feel that the people who are criticizing should go through it very carefully and come. And rehabilitation also, I have been appointed as the chairman of the Rehabilitation Bureau, and now I know how they have done it for the LTT cadres, and then now they are doing a good job to the people who have been addicted to the heroin and other drugs. So likewise, when that bill was presented, lot of criticism. But unfortunately, we know how the people who are inside the rehabilitation camps are suffering and how we are helping them to come out. Likewise, though, if you want to go forward, we should do necessary things that are being necessary for the country, and then the President has the power to have those bills presented and given the opportunity to ministers to present these bills to the parliament, and then parliament will be discussed, not criticizing only. They must come forward necessary changes. If they want to do so, then we can have a good country before us, and it should be the need of the hour.
Right. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law, U.R. De Silva, because you mentioned that you've been appointed as the head of the Rehabilitation Commission. I think it's
Bureau.
I think,
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
yeah, I think it's also prudent if the ministry can look into the 2012 Valikara prison riots, where a lot of prisoners died. So I think
There was a case filed by the Attorney General's Department,
Yeah.
and only thing is that evidence should be there to prove the case. We condone, we say that it's not proper to have that go inside and kill the people. So that should not be done.
right. Thank you very much. But do you think it was like that? You think it was like that?
Can we keep it
It
for another
happened
day?
that way. They went inside and then they killed people.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Siva. So it's very important and imperative that action is always taken, and we can talk about what happened in the past, address the past, bring those responsible to justice, and then let's look at the future progressively. And that's the way I think we should move forward. Thank you very much, Mr. U.R. De Silva, Attorney at Law and President's Counsel, for joining us this evening on Face the Nation. Attorney at Law Harshan Nanakara, a member of the Executive Council of the NPP. Thank you very much, Harshan, for joining us this evening on the show. After a very long time, Harshana.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Suren Fernando, as well as Attorney at Law Shahar Herat, also a member of the UNP Working Committee, for joining us this evening on the show. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Charlene Benedict, for joining us this evening on Face the Nation. I leave you tonight with the quote, as I always do. Bad laws are the worst sort of tyranny. Take care.